What's up, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. What's going on? Welcome to a new show of the Daily Mind Podcast. Back again. I'm your host, looking raggedy as usual, but thanks for joining me this morning where you guys are. And of course, for some of my South Korean audience, thanks for joining me this evening. All right. Metro card. Anyway, welcome to the show. All right. We are at the third week, basically, of August. I can't believe how fast this entire month is going. It's going ridiculously fast. We're already on the 19th, basically the 20th over here anyway. I've never experienced an August this fast. Normally August is one of those months that just drag out, no major holidays. It's just, pretty vanilla. But for some reason this year, August is going by extremely fast. And I mean, that's what can we do about it? You know what I mean? I'm looking forward to fall. I'm not into the whole pumpkin spice everything, but I know the trees, the colors, clear sunsets, fresher air. I'm looking forward to all that when it comes. But no rush. You know what I mean? When it gets here, it gets here. Summer has just been, again, this is one of the hottest summers I ever dealt with anywhere. And I've been to some hot places, like I've said before, but I've never dealt with anything like this. But, you got to just make do with what you got. All right. So anyway, my day has been hot, of course. Shout out to Lindsay. I see you down there. What's going on, Lindsay? Good morning to you. I know it's early. Thanks for passing by. It's been hot. You know what I mean? My day has been pretty regular. Very confusing place I work, man. I've never been anywhere quite like this. Korea is fine. The unit is a whole nother story. But that's either here to... What? What'd you say? No, you were saying something to me.
No, I'm not listening to you.
Oh, you're not listening to me. Wow, she's not listening to me. Hey, Steph, what's going on? Hey, Stephen Curry, what's going on? Good morning to you, man. Mason. Oh, shit, my regular hitters on the show. Hey, welcome. Good morning. I know it's kind of hard to catch me, but, a lot of you guys are waking up. I'm glad you guys are taking the time. Well, I just skipped right there. I'm glad you guys are taking the time to say hello. Anyway, moving right along. I already spoke about my day. It was basic. Mason hit me up with the likes, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, man. That's a good way to start the show, man. A little bit of love goes a long way, man. It's what keeps this show pretty much basically going. All right, man. So I already talked about my day. We're going to get into today's episode, right? Today's episode, there's two inspirations behind it. Number one, it is back to school for a lot of people. Maybe not everybody in New York City yet, but out here in Korea, a lot of the kids went back to school, But we're not talking about Korean kids going back to school, okay? However, follow me with this, right? So that inspired tonight's episode, but also it was a clip that I've seen from a TV show called Atlanta, right? And there was a kid who came, I guess the time period reflects probably like the 90s, and he showed up with this fresh FUBU shirt. And all the kids were ranking on him like, yo, your shirt is fake. They were checking tags. They were like, oh, no, his shirt's real because it was made in Singapore, but it's fake because it wasn't, it's not made in China. It was stupid as fuck. And, again, it brought me back to a time. You know what I mean? And I was like, man, this is a perfect episode. And I'm, being a nostalgic person, I love going back in time and reminiscing and reliving those days. Of course, not days of wearing fake clothes. No, this isn't about me wearing no fucking fake clothes. We're going back to the 90s, back to school style. We're going to talk about some of the hottest fashions going back to school in the 1990s. Now, you all been there. If you're around my age group, don't front like you've never done this. You got fresh new clothes. You laid them out on your bed and you're sitting there checking yourself out, putting it up to you and shit like that. Checking out your fresh sneakers. Wow. Your fresh sneakers to see how they go along with your outfits. So you're sitting there admiring your outfits all day, all night, and you can't contain yourself. You're like, damn, I can't wait to go to school fresh to death. Now, mind you, back then, you were competing with other kids and shit, and, they're wearing the same shit. They're wearing the same Jordans. Jordans was big. If you had Jordans, Grant Hills, Air Max 95s, you were on point. But if you had on, like, Eichel Gordons or fucking Air Max 23s that didn't even, like, they were fake, you got fucked up bad, dude. Like, people were like, it was crazy back then. Skinless Chicken, I got Jay Haji on the show. My man, Jay Haji, man, welcome. Good morning to you. Welcome. And I got my executive producer co-host, Skinless Chicken Nugget, on the show, saying that he hated going to school and someone had the same shoes as me. And that was always the case back in the 90s. You always had somebody that had Jordans or you had somebody that had Grant Hills or Air Max 95s or Uptowns. They all, Air Force Ones for some of you, had the same shit as you, trying to shine you and outshine you. You always had those, and you had the one kid that had fake brand shit. Then you had the one kid that just had straight Burlington Coat Factory stuff. There ain't nothing wrong with Burlington at all, believe me. Especially looking at now where you got to pay for your own shit, ain't nothing wrong with Burlington. But back then, when your parents bought you shit and it was from Burlington Coat Factory, you got ranked on. The shit was whack. It was whack. And yes, J. Haji, Jordans are still big, and it blows my mind that there are people out there still buying the same fucking Jordans that came out like 30 years ago, and they're buying them over and over. But sneakerheads, right? Sneakerheads, this is a lifestyle for them. People invest big on sneakers, and they make a living off sneakers. You know what I mean? Nike released the same shit every single fucking year, no matter what, and people still buy them. There's nothing like buying the originals, because there's always going to be like some sort of change, small little change from the originals, but it is what it is. All right, Skilly, you said it was Shaq and ones. Okay, Shaqs, I never seen anybody go to school with Shaqs, but can you imagine? Remember those Air and One sneakers with the spinners on the side? Let me tell you, I was already out of school by the time those came out. But if you were one of those kids, and I guess the sneakers were cool for the time because, there were spinners everywhere. They were on trucks, cars, whatever. But I can't imagine you going to school wearing them shits now. You'll get roasted. Heelys, okay. Depending on where you go, I promise you, if you showed up in a New York City school with Heelys on, you got roasted. You got fucking roasted. Now, if you were out in one of those Midwestern suburban schools and you showed up with Heelys, oh, you were that kid. You were that kid. You were like, yo, I'm never going to get to school. I'm never going to get to class late because I can skate my way through the fucking hallways. But I'm pretty sure that some schools made it a safety hazard that, they were like, yo, we don't want kids wearing Heelys, and, because it could cause some sort of an accident in the hallway, right? You got kids skating all over the place, but at the same time, you want kids to be on time for class, right? What faster way to get to class than heeling your ass down the hallway to class? I thought they were genius shoes, but let me tell you something. You showed up to a New York City high school or junior high school wearing some Heelys, your ass was cooked. I'm sorry, and it sucks, but that was just the way inner city schools work. Skillers, you said Osiris shoes and DC shoes got on your nerves. Oh my God. And it'd be that stereotypical suburban white kid that will wear the Osiris shoes with the long shorts, and some of them would have a do-rag on for some reason. Osiris shoes were just so big and doofy. You never caught me in those shoes. Now, growing up, I've had Jordans, I've had Grant Hills, I had Air Max 95s, I had FUBU sneakers, I had Diodoras. I had a lot of high-end shit, but it was also because when my mom passed away, I was around 5 years old. My aunt took me in and raised me and my brother, and she was like, the way we used to dress before, my grandmother dressed us up like nerds. Like she couldn't dress us for nothing, God rest her soul. But my aunt took us in, and she made sure we never had to look or dress like that again. So as long as we kept getting good grades, stayed out of trouble, we got some of the high-end fashions. We got new Jordans every time they came out. We had the latest gear. We had like Tommy Hilfiger, Nautica, Polo. We had it all. We had those things. I didn't ask for that shit. I was not very materialistic when it came to clothing, but that's what they wanted. That's what she wanted to do for us, and she did take care of us, and that's what she got for us. You know what I mean? I'm a kid, right? It was cool going to school with the latest sneakers because you had all those other kids like, yo, every week, every month, like he always getting some new sneakers and stuff. It was always like that. It was a really cool feeling. Skilly said, your mom smoked a lot and hated that my clothes smelled like cigarettes. Well, then why did she smoke around your clothes then? She hated that my clothes smelled like cigarettes. Then you don't smoke around. Anybody knows this, that you don't smoke around clothes because they get attached to every fucking thing. Now, Skillers, you mentioned Echo, right? Now, Echo, I know I'm a little bit old, I'm quite a bit older than you, so I know when Echo was around for me was around high school, right? Echo came around high school and shit like that. And then I think when I was in, it was Echo, Avrex, Iceberg. But I'm trying to stick with the 90s, but I get it. Our age difference is going to tell different. I might go into the 2000s, all right? Because some of these clothes go into the 2000s now. Some of them do go into the 2000s, all right? I did pull up a list on complex.com. They wrote an article back in July. It's a revised article that they did a few years ago, but they updated it for, actually, no, I'm sorry. No, they just wrote this on July 2nd. Just last month, they wrote an article, complex.com, the 90s brands that defined the decade. Right now, I'm tying this in with back to school because these were some of the top back to school brands you had to have, right? Echo was one of them, and especially when that video game came out, Mark Echo's Getting Up. Echo was a big ass brand, especially in New York City. Echo was everywhere because it was heavily urban inspired, graffiti inspired brand clothing. So that shit was everywhere. Everybody had Echo. I've never worn Echo. I'll be honest with you, I've never worn it. But I remember in high school, junior high school, going into high school, we're talking 99 to 03, a lot of people wore Echo. Echo was big. Now, not a lot of the girls wore Echo. It was mostly the dudes. A lot of the dudes wore Echo. And it was just like that it brand. You know what I mean? You were kind of in. All right, Skilly said, you got to have the portable CD player with 50 cents. Get rich or die trying. Yes. Well, the CD player thing didn't really come to me until high school. Now, riding the subway, and I think I mentioned this way, way back, but riding the subway in New York City, you had to have the anti-skip CD player. Automatic. Right? And then you had the Asian ladies that would come through the subway train, through the cars. Yeah, and I'm not being stereotypical, right? This is how they got your attention with the batteries. She'll come through the subway car, battery, $1, battery, $1, and you will get the fucking batteries. And let me tell you, if you were on a long train ride, the A train, for example, the longest subway line in New York City, you needed those batteries. Them women came in the clutch, all right? Then they started disappearing because now everybody was getting MP3 players and iPods, and people had their cell phones to listen to music on. The batteries became obsolete. But anyway,
they were the best.
They were the best, though. They were absolutely the best. But yeah, back then you had to have the CD player on deck no matter what. You had to have it, all right? Let me just see if I can get some more people on the show. I'm just trying to share this. I know it's early in the morning. I had a couple of people come through, show some love. I don't care if you're like here for a minute, an hour, or a second. I appreciate it. All right, Skilly, you said turning long socks into ankle socks by folding them. I've done that. When I didn't have any ankle socks, I did that shit. No, that's what he's saying. He's talking about rolling them, like folding them so they look like ankle socks. And a lot of dudes that did that were just either dudes that couldn't afford ankle socks, or just simply they didn't have any, or the laundry day, they didn't want to wear the same socks, and they just folded the damn socks.
The best.
That's not the best. It is
the best.
No, just get some damn ankle socks if you
but
can.
They didn't have ankle socks back then growing up.
Okay, that's understandable. I just said that. But, you know, again, if you had to fold your socks, you had to fold your socks. I ain't knocking nobody, all right? If you had to do it, you had to do it, all right? Nowadays, if you're lucky, you can afford your own ankle socks. But back then, for some people, not much of a thing, all right? So, hey, I got the article pulled up, complex.com. Shout out to Complex. They have the 90s, it's titled The 90s Brands That Define the Decade. All right, Skilly, she said, using rubber bands to kind of blouse your jeans, always having a tongue of Jordans in front. No, what I used to do, and this was back in the baggy jean era, I would take the laces and tie the ends of the pants, because the pants would be so big or so long that I would take the laces and tie like the front part of the pants, tie like the tongue part, so that way my pants wasn't dragging on the ground. Let me tell you something. I had pants so baggy that the back of my pants will always rip the fuck up because they were just so big and baggy. Now, you know, today you got dudes that wear tight ass pants, but back then, if you were those dudes wearing tight pants today, back then, oh, they roasted you. You got roasted. Tight pants back in the 90s was a no-go. No-go. Even the white kids were wearing like baggy ass those what's that Jenko pants? Those big ass parachute pants? Everybody was wearing baggy pants. If you were wearing something tight, you got cooked. You simply got cooked, all right? Wearing your sister jeans, bud, no. Oh yeah, exactly. Wearing them tight ass jeans. Oh, those are your sister's jeans. Those are girl jeans. Nowadays, the tighter your jeans are as a man, the cooler you are. And then if you wear baggy pants today, you look crazy. I'm like there was pictures of Pharrell who wore, I think recently, not that long ago, he wore some baggy ass pants. People were making fun of him. I'm like, what is going on here? Anyway, let's get into this article. We go down that list. Let's see what they got on this list. And I can tell you right off the back, I've seen some of it. And some of these brands were definitely the brands to have, right? Skillers, you said wearing polo shirts with the collar popped. Now, check it, though. Check it. There's two types of polo, right? There was Polo and U.S. Polo Association, right? It was abbreviated U.S. Polo ASSN, right? Now, for years, people thought U.S. Polo Association was a fake brand of actual polo. Was not the case. U.S. Polo Association was not fake polo. It was its own separate brand.
Entity.
But you couldn't tell dudes this back in the 90s and 2000s. They saw you wearing U.S. Polo Association, they ranked on you. They were like, that is fake-ass polo. It is indeed very similar, right? Their clothing line is very similar. But you got Polo, what's the brand name? Polo, Mark Polo or something like that. And then you got U.S. Polo Association. They were two different brands, honestly. But you couldn't dispute that back then because you just wore fake polo. All right, designers and fashion brands that are constantly referencing the 90s to this day. Take a look back at the brands and trendsetters and who did it first. So we're going to go down that list, read some descriptions, and we're going to go from there. Now, this article was originally published in 2013. However, they did update it this year, so they might have added on some extra things, right? Now, I'm not going to read too much into the intro of this, all right? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. All right, I'm going to just get right into the brands, okay? Actually, I might read some of it. It says, from Will Smith's laceless Air Jordan 5s on the Fresh Prince to Wu-Tang Clan's baggy denim and Timberlands, 90s pop culture gave us plenty of styles to be inspired by. Tupac redeemed the bandana, Kurt Cobain reclaimed the cardigan, and Kate and Naomi redefined minimalist chic. It says the 90s was also a time when branding and marketing and fashion found symbiosis. Logomania commenced. Logos were everywhere. You know, Tommy Hilfiger, Polo, Nautica. Hell, Nautica was everywhere. When Ford released the Explorer, they had a Nautica edition of the Ford Explorer. And that shit was everywhere. Eddie Bauer, Nautica. They were on cars, toys, you name it. They were everywhere, okay? All right, enough with the synopsis. Let's get to that first brand, all right? Now, the first brand they got on this list was one of the first brands created by a rapper that I can recall. LL Cool J, FUBU. Now, for some reason, LL Cool J did not create FUBU, but he was the front man for FUBU. And I think he was somewhat, he had a hand in it, right? But he wasn't like the guy that started FUBU. But hey, FUBU came around, I say about the mid-90s, and it came out of nowhere. He would wear it on his TV shows. He had a TV show called In the House. He would wear it in his productions, like his music videos. FUBU was everywhere, and it was, you couldn't miss it. It was the hat with the F and the B on it. Then he had sneakers, sweaters, all that shit. And yeah, Skillet's Fat Farm. Oh yeah, Fat Farm was big. I didn't start seeing Fat Farm until, I'd say about junior high school. I started seeing Fat Farm. And then I started seeing it, it blew up in like the 2000s. Those fucking Fat Farm sneakers that chicks used to wear. Yeah, and Baby Fat. Baby Fat, oh, forget it. I'm gonna get into all that shit. All right, FUBU, okay? LL Cool J was big with FUBU, okay? So, of course, it says here, FUBU, which stands for Us, By Us, in case you didn't know, was a conscious brand, according to this, was a conscious brand that attempted to raise awareness of supporting black-owned businesses. The brand's bright colors and big logo definitely caught attention, but it seemed like almost every demographic was trying to rock FUBU in the 90s. Oh, well, a coin is a coin. Yeah, white dudes were wearing FUBU, Indian kids were wearing FUBU, black kids were wearing FUBU, Asian kids was wearing FUBU, everyone was wearing FUBU. But I have this belief, right? I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie How High. Follow me on this. This was a funny ass Reddit Method Man movie. There was a scene where the Asian student was, he appeared at Dean Cain's office and he was wearing Bufu. The dude was wearing Bufu, right? And he walks into Dean Cain's office and he's like, the Dean Cain was like, what is that you're wearing? He's like, what, Bufu? And the Asian dude wearing it was like, yeah, it stands for By Us, Fuck You. And the Dean got mad. I strongly believe that scene almost damn near killed the FUBU brand. Now, I think when How High came out, I think it was like, what, 2001? Right before 9/11, if I'm not mistaken. FUBU was still around, but it wasn't like big. It wasn't big like it was in the late mid 90s. But that scene from How High, when he said Bufu, I think definitely did FUBU. And now I've rocked FUBU. I had these FUBU sneakers. They were super cool too. They were like a blue, yellow. I tried even finding them online to remember I kind of remember what they look like. But I rocked some FUBU, but I never really rocked the beanie, the cap and the sweater and the pants. Nah, I didn't do all that. But the sneakers, I do distinctively remember wearing the sneakers. All right, next brand. If you were rocking Echo, Echo was big, right? The coats, the boots, all that shit. Mark Echo, okay? Echo Unlimited was big brand in New York City. And again, New York City, where I'm from, these brands were synonymous with like urban hip hop fashion, right? A lot of kids went back to school first day wearing Echo, right? Some kids like Echo, depending on who, like if their friends wore Echo, you know what I mean? It was like it was everywhere, okay? But if you wore Echo, according to this, and we're not just saying that, what started as just a t-shirt brand became a forced look to express all 5 pillars of hip-hop by clothing. Now, in the backlash to the shiny suits and European designer clothing that were dominating a certain segment of hip-hop, i.e. Diddy. Diddy wore a lot of fucking shiny-ass pants and shit. A lot of shiny pants. Skilly says South Pole. Oh, yeah, South Pole was another brand, and I think South Pole was damn near a direct competition to Echo. No, there was the North Face, right? But then there was South Pole. Maybe it was a direct competition to the North Face, but I know Echo and this was very similar to each other. Underground artists like Mobb Deep and Large Professor started rocking Echo back when it was called Echo with a ECH. Oh, damn. That's a fucking, what do you call that, Mandela effect? And their cult following soon followed suit. Now, pretty soon, the Rhino logo was a symbol that represented a call for the golden era of hip-hop. Yes, Echo was like paying homage to old school hip-hop. It wasn't nothing about the new school, but the new school rocked Echo, but it was paying homage to the old school Marc Jacobs Echo. You know what I mean? And I've never rocked Echo. I don't recall rocking Echo, but I know people that have. I don't think I've ever did, and I guess there's nothing wrong with it. You know, it just wasn't what, you know, my family saw Echo as being corny, whatever the case is. But yeah, all right. Now, this next brand, this is so hey, Skillet Shoe, so you had a Echo shirt. That's what I'm saying. Like, it depends on where you're from. You know what I mean? I know for a fact white suburban kids love Echo. I don't know what it is, but I've seen white kids wear a lot of Echo. And I'm like, damn. But it was good, though, because that hip-hop influence was going beyond borders. It was going beyond the city. It was going to the suburbs, the, low-income white neighborhoods. It was everywhere, man. It was trailer parks everywhere, man. Now you see those old heads that, just got out of jail, and they're still rocking Echo. Not sure where the fuck they got it from. Maybe a, Goodwill, or maybe that was something they probably still have, and it still fit, I guess, man. Maybe. All right, this next brand, all right? Now, this next brand was big until it was no longer big in the hip-hop community. Tommy Hilfiger. Yeah, see, homeless people wear Echo now. Now, all these old brands like And1, Echo, South Pole, it usually be like the guys that stand in front of Circle K and bother you all. They don't even bother anybody, but just stand there all day. And just,
what about Ralph Lauren?
Ralph Lauren Polo. Ralph Lauren, that's the name. I said Mark Polo. It's Ralph Lauren Polo. That's what I was. I meant to reference that name in comparison to U.S. Polo Association. Anyway, Tommy Hilfiger, people, TLC. Everyone wore this brand until it was no longer cool, and it was no longer cool because of something that Tommy Hilfiger said. Now, he did say something apparently racist. And the whole black community turned on Tommy Hilfiger. I've had a lot of Tommy Hilfiger. I had a Tommy Hilfiger reversible jacket. I had Tommy Hilfiger pants, shirt. I had a lot of Tommy Hilfiger. All right. But it was a point where Tommy Hilfiger was no longer a big deal because he said some racist shit about black people, or the fact that he didn't appreciate black people wearing his clothing, which blew my mind because black people were his biggest demographic of clothing, people. More black people rock Tommy Hilfiger than anybody else, and he sat there and destroyed that. Destroyed it. But anyway, hold on. Let me. Damn it! What the fuck happened to this page? This shit acting stupid as fuck. Hold on, I gotta redo the page. It just kind of got big, and then I don't know what the fuck's going on with this page, man. I swear, I get on these pages and they just start acting fucking stupid. I don't know what the hell's going on with this. Let me see. Maybe I could get out this page. I'm gonna read up on Tommy Hilfiger in a minute. I just had to redo the page. I do apologize for a little technical error. But yeah, Tommy Hilfiger, man. I don't know. To me, Tommy Hilfiger was just played by the time. It wasn't even what he said that turned me off from wearing it. I just don't know. I just didn't want to wear it. You know, you get older. I stopped wearing name brands. I don't really do name brands like that no more because it's like, what the fuck? I can buy the name brands, no doubt. But, you know, you get older, it's like, yeah, who are you trying to impress, man? I just wear whatever looks good. You know what I mean? As far as sneakers, you know, I wear my New Balances. I wear my I haven't had Air Force Ones in a minute, but I got my Chuck Taylors, and I like wearing my New Balances. And maybe if I want to buy a particular type of Nike, like a nice color Air Force Ones, I might. All right, Tommy Hilfiger, okay? Excuse me, everybody wore this shit. Now here it says black Air Force Ones. Oh, man. I think, real quick, you mentioned black Air Force Ones. I think I've only worn black Air Force Ones one time, or maybe so. I've had white ones. I've had different color ones. But black Air Force Ones were for the shiestiest of the shiestiest people. Like, nowadays, you see a dude wearing Air Force Ones, black ones, he's about to he's up to no good. He's up to no fucking good. All right, Tommy Hilfiger and the style of the 90s are almost synonymous. By looking back to classic American preppiness and updating the aesthetic with modern reinterpretations, the brand struck a chord with everyone concerned with style in the 90s, from hip-hop heads to Wall Street bros. Everyone had some Tommy in their style arsenal. He grabbed everyone's attention in 1985 when he posted a billboard claiming that he was in the same class as Ralph Lauren, Calvin Klein, and Perry Ellis. Damn, that's a brand I haven't heard in a while. Perry Ellis? Shit. People had their doubts, but in the end of the 90s, Tommy reigned supreme, and when Aaliyah rocked the Tommy sports bra, underwear, and denim, game over. Oh yeah, Aaliyah had the whole bra, pants, everything. That was like peak Tommy Hilfiger until he said what he said, and everybody turned their back on Tommy Hilfiger. And that's the truth. Like, everyone was rocking this shit. You had, like, because they had, like, really high-end Tommy Hilfiger, like, polos and slacks for, like, the country club, Wall Street bro, you know, weekend at the Hamptons type guy. And then they had to the hood dudes who rocked the big puffy Tommy Hilfiger jacket with the jeans. It was a little bit for everyone. And it was on par with like Nautica and Ralph Lauren polo for sure. And Perry Ellis, I'd say Perry Ellis was maybe a little bit below, but that depends on where you were and how Perry Ellis was perceived. Like, again, I think I've had some Perry Ellis. I know I've seen Perry Ellis being rocked up until like the 2000s when I started high school and shit. But since then, I don't know. All right, next brand we got is a brand called Toy Machine. I guess it's like a skateboarding clothing brand called Toy Machine back then. According to this, Toy Machine provided an element of metal and 90s skate culture, and we were all better off of it. Now, without this brand keeping things slightly evil, 90s skating may have never been nothing but flowery Cali vibes throughout the decade. Now, instead, Toy Machine created dope apparel that was as hardcore as the raw videos. When you saw a dude rocking a shirt with that Toy Machine Demon logo, you knew it was either had to stay away or try and party with this guy. I've never even heard of this brand. But then again, look at the demographic, right? It was skaters. Don't get me wrong. I didn't start seeing black people start skating until Tony Hawk dropped. I'm talking Tony Hawk 2 and 3. Well, even I got into it a little bit, but it's like, nah. See, I figured Skinless, you would probably hear of this brand because I'm pretty sure.
FUBU.
Huh?
FUBU.
That was the first one I just read was FUBU.
Oh, I told you I wasn't listening to you.
I know you're not listening to me. I know. FUBU was the first brand.
I love you, though.
I know, I love you too. You go ahead and do what you got to do. Don't even worry about it. Okay, so you heard of Toy Machine. Okay, so again, you have to been the skater, you know, dude type dude to do Toy Machine. Because I ain't never, not a day in my life to this day, heard of this brand, Toy Machine. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. But I guess, you know, that's one thing about this show. You tend to learn something new every single day. And that's a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing. All right, I'm still trying to send some shares, get some other people on the show, but it's all good. All right, folks, this next one, you could say what you want about Diddy, but when he came out with Sean John, everybody and their mamas and fetuses wore Sean John. Everybody had, even unborn children had Sean John. People were buying Sean John for kids like that's not even born yet for baby showers and shit. You can say what you want about this slippery motherfucker Diddy, but Sean John had the game on lock in the 2000s for sure. All right, Sean John, okay? Nowadays, you probably see like old heads wear Sean John or tweakers or whatever wearing Sean John. You ain't seeing anybody even my age wearing Sean John. Well, you might, depending on what their situation is. But anyway, Diddy, when he dropped Sean John, we're talking peak Diddy. You know, you get it, peak Diddy, haha. But he had his hand in everything, right? And one of the things he had his hand in was clothing. You said Sean. Why would you say that, Skillers? You said Sean and John was his first victims. What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? What is going on with you? Sean and that's crazy. I don't even know. Like Sean John had to have been a moniker. We know his first name is Sean, right? But the John, I'm not sure. Anyway, according to the article, casual sportswear from Europe had been heavy in the streets for a minute by the time Puff Daddy, at the time his name, ventured into clothing. But when Sean John dropped in 1998, hip-hop could finally stop appropriating its style cues from the continent and cop from the home country. Sean John was an immediate hit in the streets and with critics and made velour suits acceptable to rock outside of the home again. And its initial success was so influential that heading into the early 2000s, Sean John started cleaning up where it came to awards and top media coverage. Sean John was big. Like, you had Sean John, you were somebody. And that may sound crazy today in 2025, but if you're around my age and you remember school kids showing up with Sean John and shit like that. Now, when you get into the 2000s, we're talking Sean John, G-Unit clothing, Echo, right? G-Unit clothing, Baby Fat, oh man. You could be in the most hood of hood. I promise you, some 4-year-old was outshining you wearing G-Unit clothing. G-Unit clothing, and you sitting there wearing Burlington. That hurt. But, I never cared for that G-Unit shit. And Michael Jordan clothing. Okay, well, he had his own clothing and shit, but people were more into his sneakers than anything. And then you had those who had the sneakers, the clothing, the whole Michael Jordan setup. I thought that was kind of crazy, but, Next one, Fat Farm. Russell Simmons, Fat Farm, okay, where you had Diddy that had Sean John, you had exec mogul, music mogul, Russell Simmons, Fat Farm. Yes, Fat Farm. The shit with the big ass P on it. Like, even the Wayans brothers wore that shit on their show. Fat Farm was everywhere. All right, according to this, Russell Simmons, the man who made Argyle sweater vest cool. I've never a day wore Argyle sweater vest. Never. Anyway, Russell Simmons, the man who made Argyle sweater vest cool, if that doesn't count as one of the greatest accomplishments of the 90s, that we need to reconsider our priorities. Now, Fat Farm, all right? A lot of kids I know wore Fat Farm like crazy. It wasn't as big as Sean John. No, Sean John was here. Fat Farm was right. It was right there. All right, anyway, Fat Farm brought prep to the streets in the 1990s, but in a way that was never considered cornball. How that happened is a remarkable feat, but adding an element of class was definitely something that helped every stylish dude out. Yeah, because you had the Fat Farm cardigan sweater vest. you basically dressed like Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons was able to pull a plaid button-up long-sleeve shirt with a cardigan sweater, jeans, and sneakers to match, and you didn't look like a preppy cornball at all. It actually gave you a little bit of style. You didn't look like a cornball. In fact, you could wear the same exact shit from Burlington Coat Factory, and they call you a cornball. But as long as that shit had a Fat Farm logo on it, you were goated. You were good to go. Russell Simmons, though, I gotta give it to him, right? Russell Simmons made you look cool, but not cornball cool, if that make any sense. It gave you a little bit of style, you know what I mean? A little bit. People, there were dudes that would go on high-end dates wearing Fat Farm because it didn't look too street and it didn't look too preppy. It was an in-between, and it worked. Russell Simmons was like, I want people to dress like me. And sure enough, that's exactly what the fuck they did. All right, the next brand, 555 Soul. Triple Five Soul, I've never worn it. I've seen people that worn this brand, Triple Five Soul. This was more like a very, very New York inspired brand of clothing. All right, Triple Five Soul. Let's see what it say about Triple Five Soul. According to the article, there was a time in the 90s where Triple Five Soul was probably considered one of the best streetwear brands out there. They had a thriving shop on Lafayette Street. Their skate team was respected and had G status. And underground creatives like Mos Def were devoted to the brand. So how come this brand didn't go the way of Supreme? I never understood that Supreme brand either. Well, leave that question to the higher powers of the 90s who work in mysterious ways. Triple Five Soul was a very slept on brand. And I think it was just maybe because it was like kind of conscious, sort of, because you had people like Mos Def. Mos Def is a conscious rapper, right? Very talented rapper, by the way. Shout out to Mos Def. But I don't think people were into that. They wanted that real street brand that had like an aura, that had a pizzazz, that had more reach. Sean John, Fat Farm, shit like that, Echo. Like Triple Five Soul was like, unless you lived like Lower Manhattan, you were a skateboarder, then those are people that you saw wear Triple Five Soul. But other than that, no, it didn't make its way to Brooklyn like that, at least to my knowledge. I ain't never seen anybody in high school wear Triple Five Soul. Then again, I could be wrong. But they definitely were not wearing it like they were wearing Sean John and G Unit. Hell no. Taco Supreme. You're a funny guy. All right, this next, you said blind? Nah, I wasn't blind. Believe me, I was not blind. All right, this next brand, Spitfire. I guess is another skateboarding brand. You might have heard of this. You say Alien Workshop. So you're just talking some crazy nonsense there. All right, Spitfire, skate brand. So apparently, this brand called Spitfire was big for its time. It says it was impossible to live through the 90s without seeing that smiling flame that was always grinning so evilly. Their equipment was top-notch, but in a decade that was ruled by branding and logos. Now, Spitfire was one of the most recognized apparel labels out there. Skate tees were their own trend in the 90s, and Spitfire absolutely led in popularity and coolness levels. Okay, you said they had good wheels. Okay, so you heard of skate. See, now I'm learning more about you. I know you used to be a skater. I know you used to be a skater because that other brand I mentioned earlier, you knew it instantly. So I know you did some thrashing and some skateboarding back in your day. You still dress like a skateboarder, but it's all good though. All right, next brand, Alphanumeric. I don't recall coming across this brand. I'd be completely honest with you. I'd be lying if I said I did. Captain James, what's going on? Captain James in the building. What is up? I know damn well you don't wear any of these fucking brands. In fact, you're almost, you were a kid. You were like a kid with some of these brands. Like, you might be familiar with like Sean John and shit. Anyway, Captain James, welcome to the show tonight, or this morning rather. We're talking 90s clothing brands you went back to school, and some of the best brands you went back to school with as far as clothing, like Sean John, Fat Farm, Nautica. Captain James, what was some of the top name brand clothing that you worn going back to your first days of school? I gotta hear this, because you are a fashionable person, and I know there are certain brands you are not touching. And Skillings, you said, I'm glad we had the last 4 days off. Well, it must be nice. I just had a regular weekend this weekend. No big deal. But yeah, Captain James, tell me some of the top clothing brands you worn going back to school. This I gotta hear. But anyway, yeah, I know for me it was Nautica, Tommy Hilfiger, Polo. Yeah. Oh, that's fucked up, Skinless. That is fucked up. Anyway, let me get to... I'm losing track. Let me get to this brand, Alphanumeric. Okay, Alphanumeric, also known as A pound sign, is a brand that launched in the late 90s, but immediately became a favorite of hardcore skate heads across the country. It was one of the first skating brands to incorporate the car culture of California into its DNA, and found a ready audience in both scenes. Now, the goal of the brand was to utilize an education-based approach to spread their method, hence the classroom motives of their ads, but skaters were stoked just to have gear that was as functional as it was stylish. And yes, James, that sucks. Hopefully, you should be getting out of there soon. Oh, man, I feel bad for you. Hey, just keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Ignore the haters. All right, next brand, Burton. I guess it's a snowboarding brand or a sports brand, but Burton, people were going back. Remember, it's telling brands not just in the urban setting, it's giving brands in the suburban setting as well. You said James shop at Binco? Yeah, that's fucked up. You'll never catch James at a fucking Binco. The day James wear any kind of skateboarding gear, I will lose my shit. I will lose it. All right, it says Burton may have not invented snowboarding, but it definitely shaped the aesthetic that shredders adhered to throughout the 1990s. Now, from bright colors that stood out on the mountain to baggy pants and extra long jackets, Burton was the first brand to make gear that could be worn both on the slopes and off the slopes. As the sport's popularity reached enormous heights in the 90s, people even started to dress in Burton, even if they were nowhere near a mountain of cold temperatures. All right, Skelly said, you're right, he more of a Pose and Bees type guy. Yeah, I could see James wearing cardigan sweaters and looking down on people and shit because they wearing FUBU. All right, this next brand for me, I don't know. I think this next brand here, for some reason, irked me. I don't know why. There was something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way about this next clothing brand. Bufu, yeah, buy us, fuck you. I swear to God, every time I see that scene, you can even look it up on YouTube. I think that killed FUBU. In fact, you know, I meant to mention this, that FUBU tried to sue the producers of How High because of that scene alone. They said that scene damaged their brand. So it may be very telling. It may be telling why, another reason why FUBU went out. You know what I mean? But clothing changed. You know, by the time FUBU was on its way out, you had G-Unit Clothing and Sean John. But again, that scene from How High, I think really has something to do with it. I mean, if it didn't, why would FUBU try to sue? But I get it. You're trying to... Bufu and FUBU sound way too similar. And if they would have used FUBU in the movie without permission, yeah, the lawsuit, forget about it. But I don't think they won that lawsuit because it counted as parody. As long as you're protected under parody, you can't be touched. Oh, back to this next brand. This brand I didn't like. Joe Boxer. All right, people rocked Joe Boxer back then. I don't think I've ever rocked Joe Boxer. No, absolutely not. But anyway, Joe Boxer was on this list of 90s fashions. I don't know if you were laying out clothes wearing Joe Boxer to go to school with. Not me. But anyway, because sagging your jeans was a trend in the 90s, your drawers game had to be on point too. Yeah, because you know what? Like, people had to see the brand drawers you were wearing as your pants was hanging off your ass. Anyway, luckily Joe Boxer was around in the 90s. Joe Boxer, aren't those socks? I think they make socks too now. I know primarily they made underwear, but I think they make socks as well. It says, Joe Boxer was around in the 90s to show off some personality and humor when you were very nearly showing off the goods. Boring old solid colors were no longer acceptable. If A$AP Rocky was rapping in the 90s, he had told us that he was Joe Boxer's down to his boxers. Hey, yo, and we'd be right there with him. Not me. Not fucking me. A$AP Rocky could sit there and rock Burlington sweaters, and I ain't sitting there rocking with him. Nah, I don't give a fuck. But no, Joe Boxer, I think they made socks, but I know primarily they were more of an underwear brand. Maybe so. I don't know. Maybe I don't recall ever seeing Joe Boxer socks. But if you did, it would make sense that they had Joe Boxer socks. I just never seen them. I don't recall seeing them. All right, this next one, Pepe jeans. You can laugh all you want, but Pepe jeans was big. All right, Pepe jeans was fashionable. All right, it was one of those Eurocentric, made its way to the hood. No, not PPGs. Pepe jeans. All right, Eurocentric as fuck. Made its way into the hood. Kind of like a Tommy Hilfiger, but not really Tommy Hilfiger. Like a Nautica, but not quite Nautica. But anyway, Pepe jeans, all right? Pepe jeans. It said no one ever expected one of the biggest denim brands to come out of the UK, but since its launch in 1973 out of a market stall in London, Pepe jeans charged to the forefront of the denim world. Their popularity peaked in the 1990s, and every kid back then absolutely needed at least one pair. Not quite hood and not quite standard denim, their campaigns came close to sexy vibes from brands like Calvin Klein, but weren't edgy enough to scare away suburban moms and dads from buying Pepe for their children. And that meant that Pepe was everywhere you looked in the 90s. I know when I was in public school, Pepe was big. among males, like boys and girls. Boys and girls wore Pepe, all right? But I've only seen like Pepe jeans and sweaters. I don't think they did shoes. But they definitely did like Pepe, I think even jackets, sweaters, t-shirts, pants, basic shit. They did all that, Pepe jeans. In fact, I think I've even had some fucking Pepe jeans. I'm pretty sure I did. But I don't know. I forgot what was the last year I've seen them, but they're no longer in business. And I can't even recall the last time I've seen someone even wear Pepe jeans. Yeah, it's been a long fucking time, but it's been a minute. And we got 15 more minutes. 15 more minutes till we hit that hour mark. I think we might just finish around 15. I mean, an hour. Why are you over there chilling? Your ass is knocked out. You were just asleep.
Good.
You fell asleep crocheting. It's still in your hand.
It's beautiful.
Uh-huh. My wife fell asleep.
Jelly.
My wife fell asleep crocheting. When she is locked in, she's locked in. She does not stop. All right, next song, Billabong. I think I've heard this brand, but believe me, no one in Brooklyn was wearing no fucking Billabong. Anyway, Billabong. All right, Skilly said, what the fuck, they have gate guards at the KMTC? Hey, listen. There's a reason. Something dumb had to happen. Something dumb. Anyway, Billabong. All right, Billabong. All right, because of Australian surfers dominating the sport in the 80s and 90s, Billabong exploded out of the land from down under in the 1990s. Its popularity rose alongside surfing dominance of pop culture, and we're pretty sure more than a couple smirking teenagers bought a t-shirt or board shorts because of the name Bong. The brand never eclipsed Quicksilver in terms of sales or exposure, but its designs were way more out there than a lot of other surfer brands, which instantly created fans of the trippy, bright surf scene. Oh, Quicksilver was big. I knew some kids that were into the whole rock scene and, yeah, dude, wore Quicksilver. Quicksilver was everywhere. It was like you were a skateboarder, you were a surfer, you were just into something extreme. You wore Quicksilver. I never seen people wear Quicksilver for the fashion. You could tell the type of person that wear Quicksilver. You could tell they're into some crazy shit that put them in some serious harm, but it didn't matter because Quicksilver was what it was. You said Bon Jovi. That's a good one. Bon Jovi. I like that. Good one. I wish I had a rim shot to sit there and just go da da da. But nah, that's a good one. All right, next one. All right, this brand right here, Mark Buchanan's Pele Pele. Like Pepe jeans, but more urban. Pele Pele. All right, Pelle Pelle. All right, Pele Pele. I've seen go all the way into like the 2000s, early 2000s, high school type shit. I've never wore Pele Pele, okay? Again, my aunt raising us, she did not buy us, and listen, I'm not trying to sound bougie, facetious, or nothing of that nature. I am telling you, this is the type of clothing, I got coming in, like going to school, first day of school type, clothing. I never got Pele Pele for my first day of school. No, but I know people that did. Okay, but Pele Pele. I'm looking at a picture where Drew Hill was rocking Pele Pele. See, the thing was this. You had to have rappers, R&B singers wearing the brand, and that's what helped draw people in, right? Mobb Deep was wearing Echo. Diddy wearing Sean John. Aaliyah and TLC wearing Tommy Hilfiger. These brands worn by these celebrities bought them in. Now, you said Juicy Couture. Let me tell you, Juicy Couture was just, it was made for the woman that had an ass, all right, or thought they had an ass, right? Made your ass look big, even though it ain't really big. Juicy Couture. I've never seen a dude wear Juicy Couture. The day I see a dude wear Juicy Couture, fuck no. But no, Juicy Couture, it was a female brand. It was kind of like Apple Bottoms. Remember Apple Bottom jeans? Fuck God, dude. Apple Bottom jeans. Every girl that either had an ass or thought they had an ass wore Apple Bottom jeans, thanks to Nelly. And I've seen some shit in Apple Bottom jeans, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but shit, some people had more like not even apple. They had like apple slices bottoms. They didn't even have like an apple. They had like apple slices. Like, why you wearing Apple Bottom jeans? You got no ass. But again, it was some people didn't need to wear them. Anyway, going to Pele Pele, all right? All right, Pele Pele was an OG urban fashion company that launched simultaneously with the birth of hip hop and 19 Apple no bottom jeans. Exactly, it's just a baking sheet. They ain't even no Apple. They even bake. It's just baking sheet. It says the brand Pele Pele launched simultaneously with the birth of hip hop in 1978. When started out as a leather outwear company, turned into a full apparel brand that was heavily endorsed and advertised by the biggest rap stars of the 90s. As one of the first brands to create extra baggy denim, it helped to create one of the most popular trends of the 90s. The brand was so popular, it coveted that Big L rapped that he, quote, put one in your belly, leave you smelly, and then take your Pele Pele. Shout out to Big L, man. That was a rapper, way too talented, gone way too fucking soon, man. I swear. But no, baggy jeans. Let's get to baggy jeans. I said it earlier in the show. The baggier your jeans were, the cooler you were. You were down by law. You were for the cause. If you wore some tight ass shit like the pants you wear today, you wore that back in the 90s. Yo, they dragged you for it. Automatically dragged you for it, right? But Pele Pele made jeans even baggier, okay? And the baggy jeans era went all the way into like what, the 2000s, into like maybe almost the late 2000s. Then they disappeared and all guys started wearing tight ass jeans. But Pele Pele was the hood of the hood shit. It wasn't like
It's only 9 o'clock.
it wasn't like Sean John and shit, but it was up there. It was up there, and it was out longer than Sean John. And then they had jackets and shit like that too, which is pretty cool. You know what I mean? They're alright, but you know, it wasn't like I didn't wear that shit. All right, folks.
What about Carhartt?
Carhartt? Oh, Carhartt? That ain't no fucking 90s school brand. Carhartt is for those fake ass country boys and country girls and shit that, you know, mudded in my truck, you know, thinking Converse. They do shit. Converse, okay, Converse, Converse might be on the list. Hell no, I ain't never wear no Juicy Couture, yo. Hey, yo. That's like me saying you wear apple bottom jeans. Crazy, right? Nah, hell, Juicy, I told you, if I seen a dude wear Juicy Couture, cooked. Fucking cooked. All right, next one, Nike. Come on now. Nike isn't going anywhere no time soon. All right, Nike is everywhere. But back then, Nike was Nike pants, jackets, sweaters, definitely the hats, thanks to Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan. Nike was all over the place. And then, of course, the sneakers, right? Air Force Ones, Air Max 95s. He said it's just Nike, not Nike. It's actually pronounced, I think it's pronounced like Nike, but it's not bikey. If you're in Australia, you pronounce bikey, Nike, right? Look, we're pronouncing it wrong, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, Nike. Well, let's say Nike. All right, this brand ain't going nowhere, right? It's everywhere. Now it says if you weren't expecting Nike to be at the top of the list, then you have no business even getting this far. This brand started in 1978, but secured its place atop sneaker mountain in the 1990s, thanks to Michael Jordan. With new technology to increase performance as well as defining the aesthetic early in the 90s for the entire decade to come, Nike became much, much more than just a brand. It may sound corny now, but Nike was one of the first brands to define a lifestyle concept that took root in the 90s and continues to define the way we consume and identify clothing now. When Nike told you to just do it in the 90s, trust us, we all did. And then,
Baby, do you like it?
It's looking cute so far. Very good.
Okay.
But yeah, Nike was everywhere. Commercials, everything. Movies. Spike Lee did commercials for it. Michael Jordan did commercials for it. Everybody did commercials for Nike. Nike was everywhere. You had Nike, no matter what, you were good. If you had Likes, or you had Ikes, or Mikeys, or Trikeys, yo, then you got cooked. You got absolutely cooked. Huh? Lickies?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? Oh, you definitely got Lickies?
Yeah.
Oh, you got cooked, dude. Huh?
Skippies.
If you wore Skippies, now they were like Converses they were like shoes that looked like Converse, Chuck Taylors, but they weren't. And we used to call them Skippies. And if you wore those, you got cooked.
And
all right?
jelly beans.
Lickies and Chewies, huh? And what, jelly beans?
Yeah, jelly bean shoes.
I never heard of those until I met you, because I've never seen anybody wear those shoes. I swear.
I'm not that old, Drew, but they had cool jelly beans.
I never seen anybody wear jellies until my wife used to wear them when she was younger, and I never heard of jellies until she told me about them. Now, there are still women and girls that wear jelly flops, basically jelly material flip-flops. Still wear them, but like...
Flip-flop?
Are they like a flip-flop or a sandal, right? They're like a sandal?
No, they're a shoe.
Okay, they're a shoe. They're a shoe. All right, this next brand, Perry Ellis. All right,
That was the Bob digging.
Perry Ellis was not bad, okay? It was up there. It was in the same tier as Nautica and Tommy Hilfiger and Polo, right? Perry Ellis had to find its way. Says Marc Jacobs was at the helm of Perry Ellis from 1988 to... Okay, I hate flip-flops too, I'll be honest. You ever tried driving with flip-flops? Not a fun time. But anyway, Perry Ellis, right? It says Marc Jacobs was at the helm of Perry Ellis from 1988 to 1993, and so the brand entered the 90s while considered to be one of the best American brands of its time. Through the decade, the edgy designers stuck to the original designer's mission was to design clothes that are more obtainable, more relaxed, but ultimately more stylish and witty. But also, he also gave Perry Ellis a relevant edge that resonated with any guy looking for a classic brand that was taking risk. The brand was popular enough to be spotted by Perry both in the hood and suburban mall. Perry Ellis was everywhere. It was like Tommy Hilfiger, right?
But wasn't he this way?
Perry Ellis? Oh, no, I think you're talking about Versace. Versace was that way.
He was good too.
No, Versace was gay. He was gay.
But he had nice clothes.
Oh, Versace. Okay. I've seen kids go back to school wearing Versace. Especially going into...
Versace. Not Versace.
I know what I said. Anyway, I've seen kids go back to school wearing Versace, right? Now, Versace back then was like Biggie made Versace big for the hood, right? Biggie was one of the first rappers to rock Versace, Gucci. I'm not Gucci, Coogee sweaters. And I'm gonna get the Coogee too. Coogee sweaters is crazy. But anyway, there was kids that went back to school rocking Versace jackets, the pants, the sneakers, and you were like, yo, the first thing we used to think about these kids, like, yo, their parents are doing some shit on the side. And I'm not talking about a second job. I'm talking...
You were just jealous.
I didn't care for high-end fashions. My cousin cared for all that shit, going back to school with the latest Versace and Hilfiger. Look, they bought it for me. I worn it, but I didn't ask for this shit. You know what I mean? I was happy with whatever I got. Even now, I'm not sitting there buying high-end brands. I'm sitting there doing what I do. But other than that, you know, I'm just like, give me clothes, I wear clothes. Shit, you buy me clothes, great. Hey, Kate, what's going on? Good morning to you. Shout out to Kate. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the show. We're going back to school in the 90s. We're talking about some of the top clothing brands of the 90s, especially going back to school, right? We're talking Polo, Tommy Hilfiger, Echo, Nike, all these brands. At least I remember growing up, going to school with. That's what we're talking about tonight. So we're going over a list of some of the top brand clothings of the 90s, going back to school and a little bit into the 2000s, but we're sticking with 90s, or we're kind of going back and forth. I don't think Kate wore Juicy Couture. I'm not sure. What, hun?
Finished with the dryer.
Okay, I'm gonna put my clothes in once the show is done. I don't know, Kate. Have you ever heard of Juicy Couture? I don't know. They were a pants. They were a clothing fashion line that was catered to females that had juicy stuff happening back there or in the front, just tight-fitting kind of clothes. I don't know. I don't know if Kate wore tight clothes like that. But you gotta ask her. She's on the show right now. Like, I think she wore Juicy Couture. I don't know, bro. You can go ask her. She's right on the show. Anyway, this next brand, Oakley. All right, Oakley. We all know, if you're in the military, you know Oakleys. Oakleys are fucking everywhere. The glasses, super expensive, or you're a hunter, or whatever. Like, Oakley's everywhere, right? All right, so it says futuristic eyewear ruled the 90s, and Oakley led the pack. Before everyone was trying to look like Steve McQueen, and way before Wayfarers became standard. All right, Kate, you said, I had, but I was in the orphanage, and I can't tell you much on clothing. Gotcha. Hey, listen, I get it. Like, if you, like, again, not everybody was able to get, like, the top brand clothing. It was like, whatever you got is what you got. So, if you had to make do with what you got, Kate, that I totally respect. You know what I mean? I'm not bashing. I'm just, like, I'm putting it out there, how some of these clothing brands were. But I can tell you right now, Kate, if there was, like, a kid, and it was so bad, if you lived in New York City, and it was, like, back in my day, if you had a kid that had on some name brand clothing that was like fake or off brand of the real name brand, those kids got bullied bad. I'm telling you, bad. And yeah, Oakley, boots, glasses, and gloves. Okay, yeah. And straight jackets and other fraud guide lenses dominated the optical world. Now, every style from Oakley looked like it was something a robot assassin would wear in the future, and you needed a pair. And if you had a shot of being considered stylish. Kate, you said we wore what kid left last, we wore the clothes. Hand-me-downs. Now, I tell you, I want to touch on hand-me-downs real quick, right? I known a few people, actually, no, I had hand-me-downs too. Like, there would be shirts I give my brother, right, who's now taller than me, but at the time, you know, me being the older brother, I passed down some clothes to him, and so on and so on. Ain't nothing wrong with hand-me-downs. If you're still one of those parents that still practice the art of hand-me-downs, ain't nothing wrong with that. I applaud you. Because clothes ain't cheap. They're not cheap. And if you're the youngest sibling can fit it, why get rid of it? You know what I mean? Unless it's a only child, then you take the clothes, you give it away, or whatever, put it in a Goodwill bin, whatever. Just give it to somebody who needs the clothes. Because there's always going to be somebody else that needs clothes. You said, must be a Weasley. I don't know what you mean by a Weasley. All right, next one. Guess jeans. Oh my God. Everyone had Guess. Guess was like Tommy Hilfiger and Polo. Guess was like bougie of bougie. Every hood chick had it. Suburban white kids had them. Hispanics had them. Everyone wore Guess. And that triangle with the fucking question mark in the middle, that is the most 90s aesthetic I've ever seen on the clothing brand, was Guess. Oh, he's referencing Harry Potter. Ah, okay, Weasley. So my wife was just in here. So she was like, oh yeah, I know who Weasley is. Anyway, Guess. There's people who are still rocking Guess. Guess is still a somewhat big brand. There's still people, I think they still sell Guess. Yes, they do. They sell Guess. All right, Guess, right? Now, if you wore Guess, like just saying it just kind of loses its saying. Having a pair of jeans with the upside down triangle logo was a must. Oh, hold on. Let me just slide over my thingy here. Slide a little puzzle piece. When you hit about an hour, you got to slide it across. That means it's almost my time. Anyway, having a pair of jeans with the upside down triangle logo was a must. If you weren't rocking Guess in the 90s, then you were straight tripping. Wow, straight tripping, bro. Anyway, there wasn't any fancy going on here, but if you were hoping to dress like a guy who had shot with Claudia Schiffer, then you had to strap up and Guess denim. Guess denim, I love Guess jeans. They were dope. I used to love that triangle upside down bullshit. You had Guess, you were good. You had money. It showed you had some sort of money. Kids were like, oh, you got Guess. And I'm like, yo, you got exclamation point on. You got fake shit. I got Guess. You got exclamation point. You got the bootleg brand. But yeah, Guess jeans, man. I think Guess is still pretty big. You said they still make those. Yeah, Guess is still big. It's still very big. And then Skillet, you said, dude Buckle said you had money. Who the fuck Buckle? Oh yeah, and yes, Kate, they still make Guess. Guess jeans may not be as popular as they once was, but they are still pretty big brand. Levi's jeans. Ooh, Levi's. Now you see how expensive Levi's jeans are nowadays? I know in the hood a lot of people had Levi's jeans. Levi's jeans has always been like premier jeans. If it was either Guess, Levi's, for sure. Skillet, you said if you don't know Buckle, then you didn't have money. Buckle. Is that a brand of sort? Because I've never heard of Buckle a day in my life. Never heard of it. All right, next brand, Iceberg. Okay, now for my New York people, Iceberg jeans was big. Iceberg, right? So Iceberg, what they used to have like cartoon characters. They used to have like Mickey, Donald, by license, by the way. And they would get like these sweaters with like Mickey, Donald, Goofy. And this was like late 90s, early 2000s. And they used to compete against like Averex. But Iceberg, like rappers wore these sweaters, like Jay-Z, Nas. They wore these sweaters, these Iceberg sweaters. These were big. And they were cool because they had, oh wow, those are some big buttons.
Small ones too.
Oh, they got buttons of all sizes. And Mike, what's going on, Mike? South Pole. Yeah, we spoke about South Pole It was actually on this list of top brands. Was South Pole on this list? Hold on. No, South Pole was not on this list. It was my executive producer, co-host Skinless that mentioned South Pole because we mentioned Echo. Echo and South Pole were like damn near neck and neck. And then you had the North Face. The North Face was like a premier jacket manufacturer. Like North Face is everywhere. Like you were in New York City, you had a North Face on, you had some money, or you got robbed for the North Face. South Pole though, I never rocked South Pole, Mike, but that was big even in like, especially high school. High school, I remember 99 into like 2003, South Pole was big as well. Although there were people that was like, South Pole is a fake North Face because North and South. I was like, no, South Pole is its own fucking brand. Come on, stop being goofy. All right, going back to Iceberg, right? Now, if you go back to old school Nas, Jay-Z, late 90s, early 2000s, depending on what video, you might catch them wearing some Iceberg, or you might even see them wearing Iceberg in the pictures. But here it is. Believe it or not, Iceberg is an Italian fashion house. I didn't even know that shit. That's incredible. Iceberg, Italian fashion house founded in 1974 and is still going strong. Who the fuck's still wearing Iceberg? Because I haven't seen anybody wear Iceberg in ages. I haven't seen anybody wear Iceberg in over 25 years. And I'm not saying this where I'm saying this. No, I'm sorry. I haven't seen anybody wear Iceberg in about 20 years at least. Without exaggeration, but apparently, according to this article, it's still going strong. Anyway, in the 90s, it was all about Iceberg knits. Who knew that rocking Disney characters on your clothes would mean that you were stylish? There are some trend brands from the 90s that we may not understand now, but back then, having a Goofy or Mickey Mouse on your sweater means you were fresh to death. Which was crazy because back in the 80s, they had t-shirts with Mickey Mouse on it, and nobody thought you were fresh to death. But as soon as they put it on a sweater and a rapper wore a Goofy and Mickey sweater, that shit was apparently fresh to death. Blew my mind. Blew my mind. Anyway, Skilly said, if you ain't wearing Iceberg, you banging ain't right. Your banging ain't right. For the time, no, I don't want that, hon. I'm good. All right, Kate, I got you. You got to go to work. Wish you the best at work today. Wish you have a good day. Have a good day. And thank you so much for stopping by the show. Shout out to Kate McElroy. As always, taking the time to stop on the show. Say a quick hello. It's early as fuck in the morning. She's getting up doing her grind. Keep doing what you're doing. And always feel free. Anytime, come on the show. You always got a spot here. But Iceberg. I did not know Iceberg was still around. I did not know this shit. But the more you learn. And yeah, okay, I got a topic suggestion from Kate. She said we should do a podcast about housekeeping. I think we could put that together. Like I said, I get ideas and I don't write shit down. That's my thing. And then when I need to think of a show, I don't know what to fucking do. I get stuck. But housekeeping, I'm going to write that down like no shit. Because I got some other topics. Like one of the topics I got coming up is your mama jokes from the 90s. Like some of the dumbest your mama jokes, and then other like going back and, you know, nostalgic things. And the story about how bad rooms can be. I think I did something about housekeeping. I did something about hotels, I think, but I can revisit it. And then Skilless, you got top 10 house cleaning products. That's a funny, that's an easy one. That's what I love about this show, is that it's not set on any particular demographic. We can talk about anything. It can be house cleaning products, housekeeping, cockroaches. Anything is up for grabs on the show. Hell, I can even talk about this damn Metro card right here. This right here is a topic, because by next year, if you're a New York City Transit, commuter, the Metro card is about to go bye-bye for good. And it's been around since 1994, and the Metro card is about to see itself out. Fabuloso smells amazing. And you know what? It makes for a good perfume cologne. Spray that shit on your clothes. Fabuloso will last all day long. All right, next brand, Quicksilver. Now, I mentioned Quicksilver was somewhat mentioned earlier in the show on the list, but Quicksilver, all right? Surfing popular. Oh, let me go back. Quicksilver, depending on where you are. No, I wasn't wearing Fabuloso as a cologne, but you spray some on your clothes, and it will last on your clothes all day. Like that's no joke. I'm not wearing it as a cologne. Well, that shit is kind of crazy. Anyway, if you wore Quicksilver back in the day, going back to school, fashion, you were a cool kid. But I can tell you right now, dudes in New York City, for the most part, were not wearing Quicksilver. This got to be like somewhere out in the burbs. Anyway, surfing's popularity exploded in the 90s alongside skating, and the brand that embodied surf culture and the sports look more than anyone else was Quicksilver. So many people found out that the ocean was calling their name, and in order to look the part of this popular lifestyle, Quicksilver had then decked out head to toe. Even kids in the Midwest who have never seen the ocean knew that they had to get their hands on this very wavy brand. Can you imagine living in like Idaho? No, I'm sorry. Living in Iowa wearing fucking Quicksilver. There's no ocean for miles. And you're wearing Quicksilver. Yeah, you said all the posers. Yes, all the posers. Again, if you live in the Midwest and you're not even near a fucking ocean, why the fuck are you wearing Quicksilver? Because you seen everybody else wear Quicksilver. That's how it works. And then the Tony Hawk brand. Nobody I knew wore the fucking Tony Hawk brand at all. All right, Tony Hawk, you had to live out in the West Coast to wear Tony Hawk. And nobody in New York City was wearing fucking Tony Hawk or Quicksilver. And if they were wearing Quicksilver, because, you know, New York City, we're by an ocean, but nobody in the hood was wearing it. Wait, Drip, welcome to the show. Good morning to you. You said you wore Quicksilver? Okay, I tell you. Okay, again, me going to school back in New York, I went to Transit Tech. Nobody I've ever seen wear Quicksilver, to my knowledge. Okay, you said I was cool. Listen, clothes don't make you. You make the clothes, right? But again, it was rare to see people wear Quicksilver or whatever in New York City. Now, Drip, you missed a good portion of this list of clothing coming up. Now, we're going back to the 90s for back-to-school fashion, some of the top brands of the 90s. So you missed quite a bit, and we can go through it real quick because I think the next one on my list was Hugo Boss. Remember when people wore Boss clothing? Hugo Boss was big. I've had some Boss too. But let me go back up the list for you, Drip, and see what you missed. I was trying to get you on the show, and I know it's early in the morning. I was probably like, she's probably like getting her kids ready for stuff, probably waking up. It's early as fuck. All right, so some of the brands you missed real quick, I'll recap for you. You missed FUBU. You said, I was the boss when I wore Boss. Did you actually wear Boss? Baby Fat. Yeah, I mentioned Baby Fat too. Oh, that and apple bottom jeans. There were females wearing apple bottom jeans that had no apple at all. I'm telling you, I was like, what are you doing? The apple is flat. Apple is flat.
It was phenomena.
What? No, we've already discussed that. No, don't come over here with that shit. No, I don't want to hear it. No.
You.
That's not me.
No, not the two. That one.
Oh, well, that's what he's saying. Remember we mentioned it on the last show with the, what was it? What are they?
That's you, babe.
That is not me.
Yes, it is.
I do not look like that.
You're the one with the red hair. You look like that when I first met you.
Okay, well, now I don't have that hair. My hair was not red.
No.
Anyway, Pele was on that list too. I never rocked Pele, but they had some baggy ass clothes. But you missed FUBU. All right, FUBU. You missed Echo, Tommy Hilfiger, Toy Machine, Sean John, and G. Okay, G Unit I didn't see on this list yet. But you said Pele sounds like pasta. What the fuck? Okay, and then we went to Sean John. Okay, Mud Jeans. Oh, you are hitting core memories. The only chicks I've seen with Mud Jeans, they were the first pair of pants I remember. I was in junior high school. A lot of the girls wore Mud Jeans, and it filled them out. Like Mud Jeans were like bell bottoms, but it hugged all their curves, which is crazy. Only girls with like fat asses wore Mud Jeans. Although there was some that attempted to, and it just looked like mud butt, but it didn't look like Mud Jeans. It just looked like mud butt. Anyway, mud. He said Miss Wad the best. Avrex was big too. Avrex jackets. I even mentioned Iceberg. Because, of course, you like him. Okay, Skilly said, of course you like him, perv. Okay, go back to my era. If you would have seen a girl with Mud Jeans, you would have went crazy, too. I don't want to hear it. Anyway, so we went through some brands. We missed Sean John. Sean John was big. You could say what you want about this slippery motherfucker, but this dude had the game on lock when it came to Sean John. And then you missed Fat Farm. All right, Fat Farm. 555 Soul, very underrated brand. And then Spitfire, followed by Alphanumeric. Yeah, Sean John did have some great ass clothes, I'm not gonna lie. You missed Burton, Joe Boxer, Pepe Jeans, Billabong, and then Pele. You just missed Pele, and of course Nike. You missed Nike. What else you missed? Perry Ellis. Okay, Joe Boxer. I wasn't a big fan. And kind of help us out with this drip because Skinless Chicken Nugget said that he saw Joe Boxer socks. I've only seen Joe Boxer boxers. I don't know if they came out with socks or t-shirts. Did you ever recall seeing anything other than boxers that they made? Because I've only seen boxers, to be honest with you. Old Navy. Hun. Old Navy. I rock so much Old Navy. Let me tell you something. I wish I had my yearbook with me, my junior high school yearbook. And they had all the famous brands. They had, Old Navy was definitely big. One thing I like about Old Navy now is some of the graphic t-shirts. I love graphic t-shirts. I'm a big collector of graphic t-shirts. Old Navy was the shit back in junior high school. Big time. Everybody wore Old Navy. Even when they had those fucking cheesy ass commercials. Old Navy, performance, fleece. You know, even stupid shit like that. People bought Old Navy. Like, you had some money. Old Navy was seen as a very premium brand back then. Not sure what it's seen like now, but no, you say, remember, it's still around. Yeah, Old Navy is still around, but not as big as it used to be. And no, it wasn't just white people clothes. Everybody wore Old Navy. I don't give a fuck who you were, where you were from, you wore Old Navy. Everybody had Old Navy. All right, Drip, you said, yes, it was. And Gap. Ed Hardy. Oh, God. I couldn't stand Ed Hardy. Maybe it was me. I remember Jim Jones used to wear a lot of Ed Hardy. Ed Hardy was big when it came to rappers. It came to rock stars, you know, with the flowery shirts and shit. They were cool shirts. It just wasn't my personality. Me wearing Ed Hardy would be very pretentious. That was not me. And like I said earlier, when I was living with my aunt who raised me and my brother, she bought us a lot of the top name brands, particularly Nautica, Tommy Hilfiger, Polo, Old Navy. We had all that stuff growing up during the 90s into 2000s, you know, junior high school and high school. But I can tell you right now, if in Transit Tech High School, they got on people hard. If your shit was fake or off-brand, like instead of Michael Jordans, you had the Mikel Gordons, you got your ass torn apart. You'll wear that moniker for the rest of your life. This dude showed up with Mikel Gordons. Like, the fuck is Mikel Gordons? Is crazy. Like fake Jordans. Anyway, the New Navy. I don't know what the New Navy is. That sound kind of weird. The New Navy. And then you missed Oakley, and then you missed Guess. You remember Guess jeans? Guess is still pretty big, but and North Face. Oh man, North Face. I've had some North Face shit. Bubble jackets. They're still pretty big in New York. And then Coogee. I didn't even touch on Coogee yet. Now Coogee. One thing about Coogee sweaters was that Coogee, you couldn't really wash those sweaters. You had to like wear, I don't know, you had to like specially dry clean the Coogee sweaters. I've never seen anybody throw a Coogee sweater in a washing machine. You pretty much fucked your shit up. Yeah, wash by hand. Most people just took the Coogee sweaters to the cleaners. I've never seen anybody take a Coogee sweater and fucking wash it by hand. But that's crazy work. Crazy work. And then Guess jeans. Guess was really, really big. I think nowadays it's still around, but not like how it used to be. And then, of course, Iceberg. And then we got up to Quicksilver. And then Hugo Boss. Now, Hugo Boss was up there with, like, Tommy Hilfiger and shit like that. Hugo Boss was like a real Euro-centric brand of clothing. You know what I mean? But it says, for the film Wall Street took place in the 80s, but finance bros was still making cash hand over fist throughout the 90s, and any player worth his salt was caking in a Hugo Boss suit. All right, Grip, you said Saks Fifth Avenue. I don't even know if it's going to cover all that. These are like considered honorable mentions. Now, Bloomingdale's. All right, Bloomingdale's is a very slept-on place, and I mentioned this too, and I mentioned something, for example, you know, Fat Farm. Remember how Russell Simmons made Fat Farm, the cardigan sweaters and the fucking hat and shit, right? Now, I made an example of this. Now, Russell Simmons made looking preppy cool in the hood, right? You could wear the cardigan sweater vest with the button-up shirt, the jeans. I said, if you bought that same outfit over from Burlington, the same exact looking outfit as that Fat Farm shit, and people found out you bought it from Burlington, you were cooked. You were like, oh, that's poor clothing, but because it said Fat Farm on it, it was all good to go. But I wasn't too big on Fat Farm, but it was like they had, remember them sneakers they had that everybody had, them Fat Farm sneakers? Everybody had them fucking sneakers. Everybody had them. And then Skinless, you say you shopped at Perseus. What the hell is Perseus? I never heard of it. Fill me in on what Perseus is. I gotta figure this. You gotta let me know what Perseus is. But yeah, Hugo Boss was big. Like when you had Hugo Boss, you had some money. And then Calvin Klein. All right, let's go to Google real quick. And Calvin Klein, that's another big one. It didn't even pop up on my list yet, but I'm not even done with the list. But let's go to Perseus real quick. Let's go to Google. Let's go to the Googles. All right. You mentioned a place called Perseus. Perseus is a horse. Yeah, I was gonna say, Perseus is a goddamn horse. How you shopping at Perseus? Now you got me looking up some dumb shit that's gonna get my Google flagged or something like that. Let me see, Perseus. You got me looking this shit up for real. Clothing. Let me see something real quick. Give me a second. See if Perseus is a real place. God damn, it's not a real place. That's from GTA 5. You got me looking fucking stupid right now. Perseus is a clothing store in GTA 5. Fucking asshole. What the fuck is wrong with you? You shop at Perseus. Perseus, I know this store now. This store in Grand Theft Auto 5 is a fucking upscale fucking store. That's a goddamn video game. Stop playing with me. You got me looking up dumb shit. My stupid ass went and looked it up too. Again, I haven't played GTA 5 in so long, so I forgot. But I can tell you that's dumb. That's fucking dumb. And Trip, thank you so much for the roses. Babe, come on. I don't want to see no dancing capybara. I don't want to see that. My wife is showing me dumb shit, but she's cool. I can't believe you did that shit. Oh, no, I'm good, hon.
You ain't getting it. I'm showing you.
Oh, okay. All right, next brand, Helly Hansen. Helly Hansen. The first time I heard of Helly Hansen was in that song with Brandy and Mace, Sitting on Top of the World. From Helly Hansen, The Many Mansions. Helly Hansen, I never wear that shit, but I did see people in high school wear Helly Hansen jackets. All right. No, I'm not looking up Wisconsin Blow Dry. I'm not looking up no more shit. In fact, I think I heard that one, and it's not good. It's not good. Helly Hansen, all right? Helly Hansen, The Many Mansions. Now, this clothing brand, according to the article, was another brand in the 90s that was embraced by the streets because its technical performance worked so well when it was Brick City out. The hip-hop community was quick to embrace the brand and Helly Hansen. Now, unlike North Face, reciprocated the love soon, the brand's HH logo was everywhere, keeping stylish dudes from Canada to Queens protected from the elements. Now, I've never wore Helly Hansen a day in my damn life. And I'd rather prefer North Face anyway. North Face is still big. Helly Hansen ain't even around anymore. When was the last time you see somebody wear Helly Hansen? Don't know. Probably been a while. Harley Davidson. Listen, Harley Davidson is a brand. It is a clothing brand in itself. But I doubt New York City kids was laying out Harley Davidson shit on their bed for the, to kind of look at their clothes for the next day. I highly doubt it. But Harley Davidson brand clothing, it's everywhere. I just never seen kids wear that to go to school. This next brand, Lugs. Lugs. Oh, you was a skateboarder. Okay, well that makes sense. So you worn stuff like Quicksilver and the other brands that I mentioned on here too. So how long have you been skateboarding for? Because that's pretty dope. You don't come across many female skateboarders, especially on this show. So that's pretty dope. Oh man, you got to show us some pictures of your skateboarding days. When was the last time you've been on the board? Because I tell you right now, I've tried skateboarding when Tony Hawk was like at his peak, when Tony Hawk 3 came out. Every black kid I know back in the day, including myself, has tried skateboarding. The shortest career I've ever had, because that shit lasted like a month or two, and I was done. I was done. All right, you said you were very active. Stay healthy. Yeah, I try. I try to even be active now, but I'm not jumping on no skateboard right now. But yes, hon. Okay, you go night-night. Good night, hon. Love you too. I'll be done soon. But yeah, I ain't jumping on no skateboard. I'm sorry. But, huh?
I leave it on my thing.
Leave what?
I left my thing on my thing.
Oh, okay. I'll see you in a bit. But Yeah, I'm not jumping on no skateboard, but I'll do my best to stay fit. Now, if you wore lugs back in the days, I remember watching wrestling back in like the 2000s. Lugs was like one of the biggest sponsors of WWE at the time. Like they always had lugs. Bye, hon. Love you. Good night. I'll probably be in bed soon, too. Don't worry about it. But lugs was really big back in the day. And they were, every time you watch wrestling, whether it be SmackDown or Raw, they were always advertised. No, Trip, I stopped watching wrestling, God knows, a long time ago. I can't watch it now because it's so unrecognizable. All the people that I remember watching and growing up with, they're either old, passed on, and yeah, I got my Metro card still. In fact, it doesn't expire until March 31st, 2026. You know, next year, these are gone, right? For good, like completely replaced with the Omni card. So I got in this Metro card back the last time I was in New York. Let me tell you something, Drip. What blew my mind was when I paid to get on the bus with a debit card in New York City. I couldn't believe what the hell was happening. I was like, what? I took my card, tap, I was on the bus. I was like, what? Yeah, then you tap it. You tap now. Tap. Hey, not that kind of tap. But you take your debit card or your Omni card, you tap it onto the fare box, and you're in. No more of this. And I know what's crazy. Yes, I am old, skinless. That's crazy as well. What's crazy is no matter what bodega I try to go to, Drip, to get a Metro card, nobody sells them anymore. No one sells them. It's like either you get on the bus with an Omni card or you use your debit card. Or if you really want a Metro card, good luck, because now they're removing all the Metro card machines out of the subway station. So this shit right here is a relic. So that's why I kept it. Yes, we are very much antique. Definitely antique. And the phone, if you got the Samsung Pay or Apple Pay on the phone, bloop, get you on. I was like, this shit sucks, man. I missed the Metro card. I remember when the Metro card used to be blue. It used to be all blue with gold lettering, and then they came out with Metro card gold and replaced the fucking coloring and flipped it. Tokens. I definitely miss tokens. My God, hey, I bet you didn't know this, Drip, that back in the day, you used to be able to take tokens and use it as cash at the bodega to buy snacks. I did that a few times. I'm not putting a token on a damn chain. I ain't no fucking way. Hell no, they're going to be calling me 25 cents. I'm not putting a token on my neck. That shit is crazy. They were like a silver color. The last tokens to come out had a Y in the middle, and it was back in 2003. I think they phased them out for good. But back in the day, you used to be able to take tokens and buy snacks and shit with them. I did it a few times. And Skilly said you just scan the barcode on your wrist. What are you, in the fucking Matrix? A barcode on your wrist? Nah. And Drip, you said you worked at a jewelry store and they valued as silver in weight? Damn, just imagine if you still had tokens, how much it would be worth. That'd probably be worth a lot of money. But yeah, Lugs, man. Lugs was a big brand. They had these big-ass rugged boots and shit. They were durable. You know what I mean? Now I think old heads and old unks wear Lugs now. You know, dudes that just did a bid and they just came out and they're like, yo, I got to get back in my Avrex jacket and my Lugs. Meanwhile, your ass been in jail since 2003. It is 2025. You go ahead and go outside with an Avrex jacket and Lugs. They gonna lug your ass right into the comedy club and just laugh at your ass. Because straight up laughter. Straight up laughter. I mean, yeah, crazy. And if you're out there getting scanned with a barcode on your arm, my man, you need to stop. You need to stop taking the red pill. Wake up, or the blue pill, whatever fucking pill you're taking to get into that situation. Wake up. All right, next brand, they got PNB Nation. Ooh, this is an iffy brand. PNB Nation. Now, it says PNB Nation doesn't get the credit it deserves as being the pioneer brand that brought together the world of hip-hop, graffiti, skating, and all the other subculture that was actually subcultures back in the 90s. Yeah, and the government did get them. The government got them. If you out here running around with a... Can you imagine you get a... real quick, if you get a barcode tattoo and they actually scan and it's something crazy... Yo, that thing looked like it was just humping my head, the back of my head. That shit's wild, but thanks, Trip. Pause. That shit, it looked like it was just clapping my cheeks. Pause. Whoa, that sounds crazy. Nah. That. Thanks for the gift. All right, that shit came out way too crazy. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. All right, I forgot what I was even gonna say. Damn it, Trip, it's your fault. Okay, I'm gonna go back to PNB Nation. I was talking about PNB Nation. All right. It was said it was started by a motley crew of kids from all over New York. Oh, the barcode thing. Thank you. Can you imagine getting a barcode tattoo and somehow you go to a supermarket and that shit scans you as a cantaloupe for like $3.99? Like, how do you... I will go to my tattoo artist and be like, yo, I'm a branded cantaloupe. Every time I go to the supermarket now, they got to do a price check on my ass because I have a barcode for a $3.99 cantaloupe. People got their cash apps as a tattoo. No, I can't do that. Because imagine if you pass away. Somebody get a hold of your cash app or some shit. What are they going to do? Send you money or whatever while you're in the casket? Or people, listen, tattoos, you got to really think about what you get. Like, I'm aware of my Hello Kitty tattoo. The tattoo actually has meaning. But anybody else would be like, what the fuck? See, that's actually smart. You say give it to your kids. You know, I never really thought of it that way. Never quite thought of it that way. It's actually a pretty clever way. Oh, yeah, let me show you again. So, real quick, this is my tattoo. I think I showed this before. And I designed that tattoo I drew myself. So, I drew that myself, which started off as a graffiti piece, and then it became a symbol of my nieces and nephews, courtesy of Rio, who's like a best friend to me, but his kids are basically like my honorary nieces and nephews. And it's basically them in a little small kid form. This, of course, being the oldest child as Kitty. So, but I am designing more tattoos for myself. It's just, I got to get around to doing it again. And you say you just started tattooing makeup and mini tats. And thank you so much. Yes, it is very nice. But no, that's cool. I got to see some of your artwork. Because I know we talked about photography and art and stuff like that. You got to show me some of your work for sure. And then going back to PNB Nation, again, what more can I say about it? I mean, it is what it is, right? Not a really cool brand, I guess, PNB Nation. I don't know. I never really wore it. And then Alien Workshop, right, is another skater brand. And then Woo Wear. Woo Wear. I forgot about Woo Wear. Oh, shit. I forgot Wu-Tang had their own. You said PNB is who? Who what? Oh, have you ever worn PNB Nation? I've never worn that. I've never worn PNB Nation, but I've seen people wear PNB Nation. But Woo Wear, I have seen people wear Woo Wear. I'm not, like, it was at peak Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang made clothes. Yes, Wu-Tang made clothes. Woo Wear, look it up. Remember, Wu-Tang was big in the 90s. They had a PlayStation video game. They had videos. They had all types of shit happening. Probably cereal somewhere in China. But Woo Wear was big. I mean, big. So, yeah, let's get the likes up. Let's try our hardest. Like I said, I ain't tracing for likes. I just want to do a good show. And that's it. But Woo Wear, I came to pain, the pain. All right, it says Woo Wear was rugged and raw as the hip-hop group that founded and championed the brand. When they were rocking all Polo Sport, all Tommy, or Nautica, you could catch most members of Staten Island's finest in the clothes that slapped their signature W onto workwear that was functional in the streets of Shaolin and other boroughs. It was just another way for Wu-Tang Clan to diversify their bonds. One thing about Wu-Tang Clan, man, they were so humble, but they were true businessmen. They ain't just stick with rap. They ventured into so many different things, you know. They didn't just stick with one thing, and that's why they're still so successful. Method Man is like a damn near A-list actor. You have one of them that's like an actual physicist, like a doctor. They're all over the place. There's some still doing music, but other than that, they are just in a league of their own. All right, the next one, Fresh Jive. I have never heard this fucking brand. Fresh Jive? Never heard of this brand. I've never even seen any females wear this shit. It says, sure, everybody knows about Stussy and Supreme, but anyone rocking Fresh Jive automatically got whatever the equivalent of a hood pass is in the skating and surfing world. Makes all the perfect sense why I never heard this shit. And thank you so much for the support, Drip. I mean, thank you. And thanks for putting me on to Franklin, too, as well, man. I'm definitely going to be supporting a lot of his shit as well. As long as some of his lives come through, I'm definitely going to show some love because he's got that energy and that vibe that I think we all need in one way or another. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And Skilly, she said, I'm using my chicken tender to type right now. I'm sorry, did you say you're fucking typing with a chicken tender? Have you lost all of your mind right now? What the fuck? Your phone must be greasy as fuck. I hope you're not like sitting there like rubbing the grease on yourself. If you're out there typing with a chicken nugget, I highly suggest you get some sort of help. Big time. Just get some help. Get some goddamn help. All right, look. It said it started in 1989 by artist Rick Klotz. The brand quickly became known for dealing with touchy subjects like the Israeli-Palestine conflict, animal cruelty, police brutality, and government black ops. Some heavy shit for a surf and skate brand, but luckily the brand also kept its groovy Cali vibes. What kind of fucking bipolar brand is this? It's dealing with politics and waves at California at the same time. You got me fucking confused, Fresh Jive. That's a really crazy brand. This next brand, though, I mentioned this brand earlier. This brand was so big that it was even on a Ford Explorer edition of the Ford Explorer. Eddie Bauer. If you had Eddie Bauer, or Eddie Bauer was on everything. It was on cars, furniture, Eddie Bauer edition this, Eddie Bauer edition that. And Skilly said, notice how there's a lot of skate brands. There is a lot, and most of these things I have never heard of before, ever. But yeah, if you had Eddie Bauer, you had money. So imagine you going to a dealership at Ford. It's 1996, 1997. The new Ford Explorer just dropped. You had a choice between a regular Ford Explorer and an Eddie Bauer edition Ford Explorer with updated leather, trim, all that, suburban, ritzy jazz. And Eddie Bauer, no, it's not Eddie Bauer, it's Eddie Bauer, B-A-U-R. I mean, now you got me fucked up. B-A-U-E-R, Bauer, not Bauer. And yeah, skating, I just love how diverse skating did get, though. Especially with the introduction of Tony Hawk. You had a lot of more minority skaters out there that's getting a lot more recognition. That skateboarding used to be very whitewashed. I mean, it started like pretty much out west, and it wasn't really a lot of black skaters. Black skaters didn't start coming around until like the 90s, Tony Hawk era, the video games. Now we're everywhere skating. I wish I did know how to skate. Like, I really do wish I knew how to skate. Like I said, I tried it for a little bit, and that was it. You know what I mean? And that was it. But I love Tony Hawk games. My favorite Tony Hawk game was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. A lot of people say it was the easiest Tony Hawk 3, but it was the most fun Tony Hawk game in the entire collection of Tony Hawk games. Now, BMX bikes, I didn't get too much of the BMX bikes, but I remember back in the day, people used to have the BMX bikes with the pegs, and people would get their pegs stolen or the whole bike stolen and shit like that. Like, it was bad. And yes, Tony Hawk 3 had the best soundtrack of all the Tony Hawk games. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Ace of Spades by Motorhead gets me going every goddamn time. And no, not DMX bikes. We're not talking DMX bikes. What are you, crazy? What are you, 5? Anyway, Eddie Bauer. Eddie Bauer was everywhere. Now, the article, it basically states that there were few brands that perpetuated the idea of a, quote, classic America in the 90s. And Eddie Bauer had anyone who fancied himself a timeless outdoorsman covered, whether you needed some fly rugged workwear or flying fish gear or even a Ford Explorer. See, I told you, Eddie Bauer had something for you. Now, I don't know how much a Ford Explorer Eddie Bauer goes for. Probably not much nowadays. But back then, you had an Eddie Bauer Ford Explorer, you had some money. You had money. All right, so you said Rodney Mullen, Skinless, you said Rodney Mullen is the best skater ever. He's definitely up there. He's definitely one of the top 5 dead or alive skaters that I've seen. Not even going to hold you. You're right about that. I wouldn't say the best ever, but he's definitely up there in the top 5. All right. Diesel, not the fuel you put in your car. We're talking Diesel, the clothing. Not Vin Diesel clothing, not Diesel at Exxon. We're talking Diesel. Diesel was a big clothing brand at one point. All right, Diesel clothing brand. Jeez. You said great texture. See, I've never worn Diesel, but I know people that worn this shit going back to school. Now, it says, beginning in the late 80s, Diesel positioned itself as a rebellious rock and roll brand that had dominated by country by the 1990s. Now, men's jeans had never been sexy, but Diesel's pre-distressed and pre-torn denim changed all that. Any dude seeking a European edginess now knew that exactly where to find it. Perhaps even more impressive, Diesel was one of the first mainstream clothing brands to become known more for its marketing campaigns and branding than actual clothing. Yeah. You say it lasted for work. It must have been really good. Now, Skillers, you said my skin doesn't react well to diesel. You're talking about fuel. I don't think it reacts very nicely to anybody. If you get diesel on your skin, it's not good. Come on, man. Clothing, I can't tell you because I never worn diesel. This next brand, Drip, this one is for you. Gap. I don't give a goddamn. Gap and Old Navy was like, if you had to compare Gap to anyone, it had to have been Old Navy. Oh my God, I got a cake. I'm not 7 years old, but thank you so much. It said 7 on it. Lucky 7 though. Hopefully that's a good thing. But Gap, you know, they had that old slogan, fall into the gap. Gap and Old Navy to me was the, how can I say it, the yin and yang. They were both very similar. Although Gap was seen to be more upscale. Gap, I'm gonna tell you one thing. I bet you guys didn't know this, but Level 7 in the fan club. Oh my God, Drip, you're like one of my biggest fans. Thank you so much. Number seven. Now, Gap. I remember there was one point Gap customers were so bougie, right? Now you guys all know how the original Gap bag look. You know, with the big Gap logo on the bag, make it looks very upscale and chic, make you look like you got money. A few years ago, Gap changed the branding on the bag, right? It made the brand look cheaper. And the classic, like, people who shopped at Gap for years were pissed at this because they said it devalued. They basically said that the bag made the brand look cheaper. So they switched back to the old bag with the Gap logo on it, the square Gap logo, the blue, white. So they switched back to it. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, yo, it's Gap. It is not that high end of a brand for you guys to be sitting there screaming about a fucking bag anyway. And exactly, buy your own bags. It did paper bag with school shit. Yeah, like people were complaining about this, Drip. They were like, yo, you know, Gap brand, it looks so cheap now because you guys changed the logo. Who gives a fuck? Hold on, I gotta sneeze. I'm getting hit with these allergies. All right, Skilly, you said, you know, the owner came up with the brand name after seeing someone with a gap between their teeth. We're going to, thank you so much, Trip. We're going to Google on that one. That's one of, you know, I feel like, oh God. Hold on. I'm going to actually go and search that stupid shit up because you'd be surprised how some of these things come about. It'd be like the most strangest facts on how things come about. Let me see. How did the Gap store name? Okay, let's see. Because that would be some weird shit. Let me see if you're right. No, you asshole. Why do I do this? You said that the name Gap for the store came because somebody saw a gap in someone's teeth. No, that's not it. It says, according to this, it is referring to the generation gap that existed in the late 1960s when the store first opened. I didn't even know Gap was even open around since the 60s. Why are you playing with me, huh? Because if somebody's... I swear to God, though, if I would have opened this up and it really did give me that as a fact, I wouldn't even be mad at you. Even better, you explain. Yeah, it says the Gap store name refers to the generation gap that existed in the late 1960s when the store first opened. Now, the founders were Donald and Doris Fisher, aimed to create a store that would appeal to younger customers, particularly teenagers and college students. Which, by the way, if you notice, even up to the 90s and 2000s, it still appealed to the younger generation. Not somebody's gap in their teeth. Crazy. Crazy even to come up with that. It's even crazier that I even thought about believing this shit. This is why I fact check stuff on this show. Because you be throwing shit at me and I'm like, nah, I need to check this shit out. But anyway, the Gap, right? Let me finish reading the Gap. Give me a second. All right, in the 90s, the Gap is where people went to buy simple and reliable basics with no shame. Now, except for maybe a few fashion-forward or party pieces, one's entire wardrobe could be based off Gap pieces, from underwear to khakis to business casual looks that prevailed in the 1990s. The Gap had you covered. Now, the accessibility price was ambiguous and appealed to everyone from suburban families to yuppies to the urban scene. Everybody named Mama had Gap. In fact, there were TV shows and movies that made fun of people going to the Gap. No, not Gap insurance, but clothing. Everybody wore Gap. I wore Gap. I wore Old Navy. I wore that shit a lot. Back in junior high school, everybody had Gap. everybody had Old Navy. And there was never really an argument over to which one was better. I guess people saw Gap as a little bit more premium than compared to Old Navy. Old Navy was seen as a little bit cheaper. This next one. This man right here, it wasn't even Biggie that made the Coogi sweater big. It was Bill Cosby that made the Coogi sweater big. He wore the Coogi sweater first. This crazy Australian custom sweater has been the epitome of black culture all throughout the 90s into 2000s. Bill Cosby wore this sweater first. Then Biggie adopted the sweater, and everybody wanted a Coogi sweater. He referenced the sweater quite a few in his songs. He wore them in his videos. Everybody had a Coogi sweater. People were wearing these motherfuckers in the summertime just to be like, I have a Coogi sweater. It is hot as fuck outside. Why are you wearing this sweater? And what made these sweaters so expensive, because they were like hand stitched. They were very custom made, right? These weren't just your regular old knitted sweaters. These sweaters cost a lot of money to produce, and you had to be very careful with these sweaters. Exactly. Yarn made sweaters from Australia, because Coogi was from the land down under. Coogi sweaters, folks. And matter of fact, it even referenced Bill Cosby on here. It says, much like Versace, Coogi made dudes want color and vibrancy in their wardrobe. Admittedly, the Australian brand didn't seem cool when it was the signature Bill Cosby look, but when iconic photo of Biggie rocking Coogi made the cover of The Source, everyone needed to get their hands on the textured sweaters. The sweaters became a status symbol in the hood, and anyone rocking one of these was letting it be known that he was living better now. Coogi sweater now. Yeah. If you got a Coogi sweater, you were it. It wasn't, and I heard people say Coochie sweater. I'm like, yo, you should not be wearing Coochie fur on you at all. If I hear you call this sweater a Coochie sweater, that shit probably stank. It's summertime. Why are you wearing Coochie fur on you? No, Coogi sweater, Coogi. Now, Coogi, we all like Coochie, skinless. We all like Coochie. But going into the 2000s, the Coogi sweater even made it into the 2000s. But it started getting to a point, I've seen people wear fake Coogi sweaters. I don't know where the fuck you got it from. Maybe Delancey Street. But you were rocking a fake Coogi sweater was a no-go. No-go. It looked very similar. But what threw it off was the threading and the colors that the fake sweaters came with. They were coming in colors that was so vibrant. It was like somebody threw like fucking melted Skittles all over your fucking cardigan sweater. And you had these crazy colors Coogi never even came out with. That's how you knew it was fake. And the threading would just come right off. You had cats sitting there playing with the string off your sweater. A tie-dye Coogi sweater is insane. Yo, a tie-dye Coogi sweater. Now I said Coogi sweater. Oh my God. A tie-dye Coogi sweater is insane work. Not Coogi sweater. See, you guys got me messed up. Now I'm thinking about some other shit. Listen. A tie-dye. A tie-dye. I'm not sleepy. You guys are just tripping my words up between Coogi and Coochie. You started that shit, Drip. And then you got Skinless up there like, I like Coochie. I mean, yeah, we all do. We all do. What do you think brought us here? Anyway, look. Coogi sweaters. They went for a while. And right, Bill Cosby had a Coogi sweater. But when you watch the Cosby Show, right? Nobody really knows. Like, he wears the sweaters extensively in the Cosby Show. But nobody was like, people looked at when he was wearing the sweaters being an uppity dad, they thought that shit was corny. Biggie wore that sweater and everybody wanted it. Yes, but the Coogi sweater was Bill Cosby's trademark. So it wasn't Biggie that put us onto the Coogi sweater. It was Bill the Pill Cosby. He put us onto the sweater. Shout out to Bill Cosby, man. He went through it. All right. Gucci. Now we went from Coogi to Gucci. Now we're on Gucci. Gucci, I know extensively for the bags. I know coming up in the 80s, Gucci sweaters, Gucci bags, Gucci jackets, Bill Cosby. Gucci was everywhere. Gucci ain't going nowhere. Drip, you are too much. I swear. You're like one of my biggest supporters. And you know what? I remember Captain James. I know when you were first on the show, Captain James, he tried to get at you. He was like, see you later, pretty lady. He was actually on the show earlier, and I'm pretty sure he'll come back on the show. He'll probably try to holler at you. But this is Captain James. He talks to everybody. He'll probably get back at you. All right, Gucci. All right, we going through all the Uchis. Gucci and wealth were synonymous in the 90s. You said cap. You said the playboys of the decade loved the flashiness of the Italian brand, and any aspiring player knew that he had to make it when he couldn't afford the rock Gucci. When he could afford the rock Gucci on a daily, but perhaps even more attention grabbing than the clothes was the family infighting of the Gucci house. Now, while tragic, the family definitely provided some of the greatest entertainment to come out of the fashion industry, not to mention the most ratchet fashion moment of all time. I don't know. I haven't seen any kids go to... No, I've seen kids go back the first day of school to Gucci. Yeah, Gucci. I've seen kids go back to school with Gucci sweaters. Now, Drip, do you remember back in the day, you get your fresh new clothes for school and you lay them out on your bed and you're sitting there admiring your shit, putting the sneakers up to it, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait. You just sat there looking at your outfit all day, all night before going to bed for school. That's this. I don't think I've ever seen kids go to school in Gucci, but like Gap, Old Navy, and shit like that. Yeah. You said kids with Louis Vuitton. You knew exactly. I didn't want to say that on here, but that was like a lot of people's thoughts. If your kids were going to school with like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, we're talking third graders, second graders going to school with this shit. Come on now. Come on now. I know you love your kids, but goddamn, these kids can't even spell 2 + 2 = apple, and they're wearing clothes more expensive than my shit, my whole wardrobe. Meanwhile, your kids think fucking cat is spelled with a K and 2 + 2 = orange. But they're sitting here wearing Louis Vuitton and Gucci and Coogee. Come on now. Stop the shit. Stop the shit. All right, the next one, starter. Remember starter hats, starter jackets? Okay, back in the day, I had a Charlotte Hornets starter jacket. I don't care. You didn't even have to be a basketball fan. You didn't have to be you didn't have to be a sport fan. I will never forget the Charlotte Hornets jacket. People were getting robbed for those. You know, the Chicago Bull jackets, the Laker jackets, the Charlotte Hornets jackets. People were getting robbed for those jackets and the hats. All right, Drip, you said kids get too much now. They don't even wear starter no more. Shit, if you go to school wearing starter, you're going to start getting ripped on. They're going to tear your ass apart. Starter caps. But back in the day, in the 90s, if you got like a Charlotte Hornets starter jacket like me, you had money. You had something going on for you. But that was a big fashion back in the day. Like sports jackets. Like back in the 2000s, everybody wore jerseys. That was a weird fashion in itself. Wearing a basketball jersey and you can't even play ball was crazy to me. But that was the fashion back then. Windbreaker. Yeah, it was a windbreaker jacket. It wasn't even like a coat jacket. Those starter jackets were windbreakers. Oh, my accent. Yeah, it comes out more when I get very enthused about a topic or whatever, or somebody brings my accent up or make fun of me, the accent comes out a lot more. But I told you, that New York accent does not leave me. It does not leave me. It only comes out at moments of excitement. Even that excitement, that other excitement. Yeah, it comes out at those times. Plus, I'm a little congested, so it's probably like New York, New York. All right, starters, right? It says, repping your region was paramount in the 90s, and no one helped you put on for your city in better style than a starter. Now, if you thought snapbacks are popular now, just think of how crazy it must have been in the decade that starter had a cap on everyone's dome. Pause. And if you didn't have a starter jacket in your rotation that represented for your city and team, then you probably deserve all the bullying. Nobody deserves to be bullied, but I promise you, if you didn't have a starter jacket, people probably just bullied you or whatever. Starter cap, I just said that. Yeah, the starter cap. But for me, I just had the jacket. I didn't have a cap, but I had the jacket. Specifically, Charlotte Hornets jacket. You know, I think now even they're selling starter stuff. Like the old school starter jackets, they're selling them still. They're not cheap. They weren't cheap then. And they're definitely not cheap now, but you know, I wore hokey in them. Wore hokey? Okay, you might have misspelled something. I know it's early in the morning over there. I don't know what hokey is. It's got to be something. Maybe, what is a hokey? Oh, hockey team. Yeah, they came in all sports. So they had baseball, basketball, football. Okay, hokey pokey in the morning. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with hokey pokey in the morning. Okay, Little wake and shake or wake and bake. All right, next brand, Airwalk. People, Airwalk. Again, if you were a skateboarder, you were biking, if you were into extreme shit, Airwalk was where it was. All right, and hey, Drip, I type fast too. I just like to get my point across as fast as possible. Don't even worry about it. I'm not majoring in English, okay? So if you make a mistake, it's all good. All right, Airwalk. Now, I've never had a pair of Airwalk. Have I ever had one? No. I got my first pair of Vans. Now, these sneakers are heavy as fuck, but I can see why skateboarders wear Vans. They're heavy. But Airwalk's Airwalk, right? Now, this is big. Now, it says whether you just wanted to look or you actually skated, Airwalk was one brand you needed on your feet. The company was born and bred in skateboarding home state of Cali, but were an absolute must for skaters of all skill levels across the country. Vans is a unique name. It is, and I bet, you know what's funny? If you ever pay attention watching The Matrix, Keanu Reeves' character Neo, those big boots he wore were Airwalks. And the only way you'll catch the logo on there was one scene towards the end where he was fighting Agent Smith. He did this high kick. And if you catch it, the Airwalk logo was on his shoes. Not a lot of people caught that, but yes, Neo himself wears Airwalk boots. Now, Drip, you said Vans had cool, unique branding logo. They do, and Vans are everywhere. You know, now people in the hood wear Vans. You know, back in the day, you know, if you were in the hood wearing Vans, you got no go. But that shit, my aunt bought me Vans last year. She still buys me stuff. And she knows I like off-brand. I like shoes, like skateboarding shoes. I love Chuck Taylors. Chuck Taylors is my favorite sneaker of all time. But she bought me Vans. First time I wore Vans, these shoes were heavy as fuck, but they are durable. You can wear them in the rain. You can wear them in all types of weather. They don't get fucked up. They still look good. They still look good. And I'm not looking up more shit. I'm not looking up no more shit. It's going to be stupid shit. I'm so congested right now. It sucks. All right. Next brand, Nautica. People, you know, the little sailboat. You know, even there was a Nautica Ford Explorer or Expedition. I think it was a Nautica Expedition. There was. But Nautica, people. Nautica, I had Nautica. All right. Oh, he said Vans was a math equation he said to look up. Oh, get some Vicks? Yeah, I'm getting congested. Hopefully I'm not getting sick. It's not like it's been cold or anything like that, but I don't know. Maybe I think it's just allergies. I do suffer from like seasonal type allergies. Oh my God. Anyway, Nautica. All right, I had the jacket, I had the jeans, the shirt, everything. I had it all. Hurricane season, yeah. Everybody's keeping an eye out on Erin. I don't think Erin's going to make landfall, but apparently she's supposed to be kicking up a lot of waves at the Carolinas. She's kicking up a lot. It says, before Nautica, no one was aspiring to live that yacht life. But with bright colors and a fresh take on prep, who wouldn't want to dress like an old money sailing enthusiast? The brand was embraced by hip-hop and urban culture, and along with brands like Polo and Tommy Hilfiger, meant stodgy white men in Connecticut would dress similarly to kids in the hood. You had it didn't matter what class you were in, you had Nautica on. It was like Boss, Tommy Hilfiger, and all those other brands. They didn't matter. You had it. Everybody had it. It didn't matter. And backpacks, shit, that's right. Yeah, they had really good backpacks. But I always stuck with JanSport, no matter what. JanSports could go through hell and back. You had a JanSport for at least 2 to 3 fucking semesters. You didn't even have to buy your kid a new bag every year. A JanSport did just fine. I had a JanSport that lasted like 2 or 3 semesters back in public school. Easy. All right, I think we're about to wrap it up soon, but we got the next brand, Karl Kani. Karl Kani. Brother, Karl Kani was crazy. All right, you said North Face fanny pack. Oh, that was weird. North Face fanny pack, you're doing too much. Oh, Karl Kani. You remember Karl Kani jeans? Yeah, that. Or like cross colors. Oh my God, you wore cross colors back then. It's crazy. Anyway, Karl Kani. All right, it says if you didn't own any Karl Kani in the 90s, you were simply a sucker. Well, guess what? I didn't have Karl Kani. I ain't no fucking sucker. Oh, no, not Calvin Klein. Karl Kani. Karl Kani jeans. And whatever else they made back then. It said the designer was one of the first to recognize the star power of rappers. Yeah, look it up. That's your homework assignment this morning, Drip. Look up Karl Kani. It will make all the sense. It was the first to recognize the star powers of rappers and started seeding his clothes out to some of the biggest names in hip-hop like Tupac, Tupac told Kanai that he was down to support any black-owned enterprise, and soon any fan of hip-hop was seeing Karl Kanai on stars like Nas, Biggie, Puff. So, of course, everyone had to cop, because all it takes, just like Coogee, is for a rapper or someone to wear that brand, and they're going to wear that brand. Okay, you said they started making adult toys. Who? Calvin Klein? Okay, wait, whoa. Hold on. God damn. I think it's going to be time for me to wrap this show. Hopefully I'm not getting sick. I get sick like twice a year. In the beginning and towards the end. But it's not towards the end. I'm just getting old. But Karl Kanai jeans, definitely look that up. And then, of course, Frances Jabot. Martha Frances Jabot. The French brand. This brand was also a brand that was heavily adopted by hip-hop and urban culture. But thank you. Yeah. It's getting to that point. All right, so it says, starting in the early 90s, Martha Frances Jabot was so beloved by the hip-hop community that Complex was able to put together a long list of rappers referring the French denim brand that runs through the decade and into the 21st century. Now, sadly, the brand filed for bankruptcy in 2011, but such is the fickle life of 90s fashion. Frances Jabot, look it up. It's actually, I think I've had some Jabot shirts or jeans or whatever, but they were pretty expensive too. French, by the way, French brand. And of course, the North Face. Listen, I'm gonna tell you a funny story about someone who had a fake The North Face jacket. There's a girl I still talk to this day, and I swear I feel so bad because every time I talk to her, I would remember this jacket, right? She came to school with a fake North Face jacket. Now, you're probably asking me, how do you know that jacket was fake? Very simple. Because the jacket said the North Face. I'm talking about as in faith, God. The North Face. I swear to everything that is holy above me and dangerous below me. This girl had on a jacket that said the North Face. I lost my damn mind. I felt so bad. I don't think she ever wore that shit ever again. They teased the fuck out of this girl. I still talk to her to this day. She's super cool. I never mentioned that shit, or whether she forget it or not. Now, I don't even know if it was a Christian rock band or a church band or whatever band. I don't fucking know. But when she came to school wearing the North Face, I was like, where the fuck do you even get this from? Like, I would never wear this. I'd rather freeze outside than fucking wear a North Face jacket. I'd rather freeze to death outside in a t-shirt before I fucking wear some shit like that. But that's how cruel school was. It was cruel, okay? The North Face is crazy, all right? It was the holiest jacket. Oh, look at me. I'm a little bunny rabbit. I know I got little buck teeth, but the ears are pretty fitting to it, too. All right, the North Face. All right, oh, God, I said the North Face. I meant the North Face, all right? Like other popular outdoor brands of the 90s, oh, yeah, exactly. The North Face. I like the North Face. It says like other popular outdoor brands of the 90s. The North Face became incredibly popular with consumers that didn't necessarily use the gear as it was originally intended. But brick is brick, and what's good enough for Everest is good enough for the cold winter streets of the decade. The North Face dominated every outerwear trend in the 90s, produced from puffy down to technical snorkels. Let me tell you something. North Face is the reason why the word brick exists in New York. If it's brick outside, you bring it out the triple down goose North Face snorkel jacket. Let me tell you something. Now, if you were lucky, school starts in September and you go back to school. It's not quite cold, but you got a North Face jacket ready to go for when it does get cold in New York City. You wore that North Face triple down goose with the snorkel. Brick by brick. It's brick outside. The North Face is coming out. I've seen North Face jackets come out as early as October because it got cold so fast. People were wearing them shits that early. I'm like, it's not that cold. It's not that cold. All right, anyway, Supreme. I will never understand this brand for the life of me. I remember people went crazy over Supreme Metro cards. They even painted a train with Supreme colors. I never understand this shit. You said you was popular in the jackets. Yeah, even to this day, you wore a North Face, you knew you were warm. There was no other jacket besides a flight jacket. Now, Drip, I wore a flight jacket. See, with the orange interior? I don't like big puffy coats, so I always wore a flight jacket with a hoodie combination. I don't like big puffy coats. So You always catch me in a flight jacket with the orange in it. Always. Every day. That's a New York staple too. You said your brother's sponsored by Supreme. They extra with stuff. Yeah, they are extra. They're everywhere. Supreme Metro Card, Supreme Pigeons, Supreme Pizza, Supreme God knows what. Boost mobile phones, all types of shit. They're everywhere. You say you stay bricked up in a bomber jacket. Okay, see, bomber jackets are cool. They're cool. They'll keep you warm too. You wear them shits with a hoodie, you're good to go. You don't even need a big ass coat. Now it says Supreme found its success in the 90s in a way that was opposite to the big brands and catchy in-your-face marketing campaigns of the decade. By staying so underground and sticking to its core principles of quality, exclusivity, and rawness, its following quietly built up through the decade and set the foundation for the global phenomenon that it is today. They're everywhere. They deal with they're from urban to suburban to skaters. Yeah, they're everywhere. And then, of course, Drip, you said, shout out to Peep My Eats. Check them out on Instagram. Peep My Eats. Hey, shout out to Peep My Eats. I will definitely give them a check out on Instagram. Of course, I'm always about free promotion on here. You don't ever have to pay me or anything to promote anything on this show, as long as it's not going to get you thrown in jail and get my podcast cut off. But shout out to Peep My Eats. If you don't get a chance to do it now, get a chance later today. Check it out. You never know. It sounds like a restaurant, and you know I'm a foodie, so I'm definitely gonna check it out. As soon as I get off the show, and maybe even follow Pete My Eats. Shout out to Pete My Eats. Follow them, check them out. All right, Supreme. I never got into that shit. It's stupid. I don't know. I don't really care too much for the brand. And then of course Reebok. Last but not least, Reebok. Oh no, there's so many fucking brands here. Reebok. All right, Reebok. Big brand. Back in the days. 90s, Reebok is definitely big. And then before I wrap it, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. We got Reebok followed by Armani. Can you imagine dressing your kid up in Giorgio Armani to go back to school on the first day? Crazy work. Oh, hell no. Trip, you said my brother made great food. You're going to love it when you're in the States. Absolutely. Send it my way. I get back into the States or I make it down that way again. I will definitely stop by and check it out. Shoot me the information. If there's a Facebook, Instagram page, I'll follow it. I'll shout them out on here whenever possible. Because, like, again, this page is not just about being a podcast. It's about also putting people on and getting people out there. Because I think everybody, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So the more you get your name and shit out there in network, push it out there. It's not a fashion show to go to school. Well, tell that to some of those parents who I believe is projecting, right? I think parents who dress their kids up in the biggest fashions, it's normally parents that's like, you know, I didn't have anything growing up and I want my kids to have what I didn't have. Or it's their way of like, it's a coping, it's a generational curse. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you get good clothes if you do good in school. And I'm like, that shit sound crazy. Even now, you know, I used to hear it too, like, oh, you know, if you don't get good grades or whatever, you're not gonna get there. I'm like, now when you look at it, it's kind of crazy. It really is kind of crazy when you think about it. And you said you wore pajamas to school. You know, people do that. And I'm pretty sure there's kids that do that shit. You know, go to school in those Cookie Monster pajama pants and shit, and a t-shirt and Fat Farm sneakers. And oh yeah, absolutely. And then Versace, big brand in the 90s. My cousin, he's a big fashion guy. He's got to have the most up brand shit. He would go to school first day of high school, whatever, in Versace or junior high school. Versace shirt, Versace pants, Versace shoes. Dude, it's school. It's school. You can't even impress Miss Frizzle on the Magic School Bus with that shit. Because that woman plans on going out of space with a fucking school bus. You think she's going to care if you wear like Versace and shit? Probably not. But yeah, he used to go to school decked the fuck out. I didn't really care much for it. I was good with just Gap and Old Navy, to be honest with you. And then, of course, Ralph Lauren and Timberland. People, welcome to New York. It is 90 degrees outside and you're wearing fucking Timberland boots with the laces out. Timberland boots was one of those boots that was everywhere. You wore that shit all 4 seasons, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've seen dudes wear denim shorts with fucking Timberland boots on outside with no socks. Why? And Skilly, you said, and always had a steak in his Versace pocket. No, that's the wrong cousin. The cousin that I'm referring to He dresses like dress. The dude, like the cousin with the steak in his pocket, crazy. Yes, Drip. I had a cousin of mine who we had a cookout in Bear Mountain, and he went back home on the bus because we took a charter bus. It was like a family thing. He put a barbecue sauce slathered steak in his pocket to save for later. No aluminum foil, no paper plate. He put the shit in his pocket, and he ate it later on in the day. He pulled that shit out of his pocket. He ate it. He ate the. I swear, I'm not making this up. He put a steak in his pocket. This is what I got to deal with. I deal with crazy shit like this. But look, I skipped Ralph Lauren because Ralph Lauren is like everything else. But Timberland boots. Timberland fucking boots. All right, Drip, you said, wow, Bear Mountain ain't heard no one speak on that place since I was young. Because you know what? People just go there for like family reunions. And let me tell you, that was back in like, oh God, it was like 2022. I'm sorry, no, whoa, it's way too close. It was like 2002, 2003 we went up there. Long time ago. And yeah, my cousin is funny as fuck. Shout out to my cousin Ronell, who put steaks in his fucking pocket. But I love that dude. I deal with a lot of shit. All right, Timberland. It wasn't even a question whether or not you needed Timberlands in the 90s for terrible weather, putting in work, or just looking rugged as hell. This was an OG workwear brand that was around for a minute before rappers and millions of fans made these boots a necessity. They appeared in dozens of videos, performances, and lyrics. When Biggie rhymed, quote, Tim's for my hooligans in Brooklyn. God, that sounds like some white reporter. Coming out of Brooklyn, we got Biggie. He's got Tim's for his hooligans in Brooklyn here. How you doing, Biggie? That sounds fucking crazy. It was a rap on deciding whether or not you wanted a pair. Who the fuck were rocking Timberlands? Timberland boots is crazy. You wear Timberlands when you try to like swipe right or left for a Tinder date. Like, yo, I got my Timberlands on and shit. What the fuck? You said there's a donut for him? Aw, thank you. I think you're talking about a donut for my cousin Ronell. He probably put that shit in his fucking pocket too. He said you must have hurt. Your head must hurt from my taps. No, it don't, but no, I'm good. I'm good. Hey, shout out to Drip. I swear to God, you are definitely like one of my top supporters. And you just came out of nowhere too. And I'm so glad you found this podcast. I'll be completely honest with you, because we don't get a lot of people like you on the show and who sticks with the show. We still got loyalists from when we started on TikTok. Don't get me wrong. And they appear when they can appear. But you've been on damn near every show since past couple of weeks, and I do appreciate it. And I do appreciate so much of the support and promotion that you give this show. And at some point, we have to give you a bigger role on this show somehow as a co-host or something, to where we can make this show something big. Because one thing we are missing from this show is a female audience. We are lacking in a female audience that maybe perhaps you could tell things from a perspective, but we'll see, because you're definitely putting the show where it needs to be. And of course, Skinless Chicken Nugget, who is my executive producer and co-host as well, also putting us on point. Okay, wait, whoa, you said tap my head. Hey, yo. Hey, whoa, hey, Skinless. How the fuck you got going on tap your head? I don't know about that shit. But nah, if you had Timberlands, you wore Timberlands all the fucking time. I can't imagine getting stomped out by a group of people with Timberlands and black Air Force Ones. I swear to God, I would. Yo, y'all might as well kill me. Y'all might as well take me out. Take me out. Because it's over at that point. All right, what else we got? Air Jordans. Not much to be said about Air Jordans. They come out every single year, and people buy them every single year. All right, you said big fight to have Tim marks on your face. Let me tell you something. If you could survive New York City getting jumped by somebody with Timberlands, and you have the tree logo on the side of your fucking face, and you can get up and live to tell the story, yo, I will pay for your hospital bills. Because I don't know anybody alive that survived getting jumped by guys wearing Timberland boots and black Air Force Ones. Anybody walking around with black Air Force Ones don't care about shit. Don't care about a damn thing. But there are kids that went to school wearing black Air Force Ones. I don't like them. To me, they're just so generic. They remind me of those fucking Walmart anti-slip working sneakers that they have you work with at McDonald's or something. Yeah, but the tree on your face, can you imagine that shit? Air Jordans, man. Listen, there ain't much to say about Air Jordans. I had so many of the Jordans coming out. I remember I had the Jordans where it had like, I forgot what, I'm not too good with numbers. But when you look under the shoe, it had all of his highlights under the shoes, which was dope. Jordans back in the 90s were dope. Now, when it got to the 2000s, it got corny. There's nothing beating Jordans from like the 80s to the 90s. That was peak Jordans. Me, I'm 40 years old. I'm way past the idea of wearing Jordans. I don't think I'll ever wear a pair of Jordans again. No need to. I've been there. I wore them. I'm not going to buy them every fucking year they come out. And then, of course, DKNY. I'm going to run through this real quick. DKNY, Donna Karan, New York. Everybody had fucking DKNY. The billboard, everything was everywhere. But then I had seen some people wear MKNY. MKNY. I was like, what the fuck is that? Mortal Kombat New York or some shit? I was like, what the fuck is MKNY? And I was like, yeah, that shit fake as fuck. But DKNY, Donna Karan, everywhere. Referenced in all songs. And Michael Kors bags? Yeah, Michael Kors was big. DKNY, Donkey Kong, New York. No, I'm sorry, that's not it. That's the wrong answer. Donna Karan. And I'm gonna read these last brands going past them real quick. We got Donna Karan, Calvin Klein. Calvin Klein, very big shit. Calvin Klein, I went to school with some Calvin Klein. Stussy, or Stussy. Yeah, Stussy. Stussy was a brand, and then of course Polo Sport. Polo Sport, not the U.S. Polo Association shit that people thought was fake polo. It's not fake polo. It's its own separate brand of polo. I had to make this shit clear to some people. And then now that was all the brands we have wrapped up. I didn't even realize there's that many brands. The 90s was a time to be alive. Let me tell you something. I will never forget those nights. I get my fresh new clothes, looking at all my new jackets, socks, sneakers, all that shit, man. I miss those days. You know what I mean? And, you know, these kids don't get it. You know what I mean? And some of these parents still don't get it either. Just because you didn't have it growing up, and I know you want to do the best for your kids, that's not the way to go about it. I can't tell you how to parent, right? You want to give your kids everything that you never had, and you want them to be better than you ever will be. But, you know, humble your kids, man, because that's probably part of the reason now is why these kids get bullied is because, you know, status clothes. You know what I mean? Oh, my parents can afford Supreme and your parents can't, all this other shit. It's crazy work. I've seen kids cry over this shit, you know, having bootleg clothes, you know, wearing Bufu and Crikey and Donkey Kong New York, all those fake ass brands. See, you say your daughter rocks Vans. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You can only afford what you can afford. Don't ever have to compete with another parent because they're buying their kids sneakers. Meanwhile, their kids say 2 + 2 = koala bear, and them motherfuckers wearing Jordans, they can't even spell. It don't matter. And Vans are comfy. Let me tell you something. I'm rocking my first pair of Vans. They're a little bit heavy, but I can wear them shits in the rain. I can wear them outside at any point in time. Any point in time. But no, the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, we grew into good times. Drip, we'll never see a decade like that again. Ever. Ever. And right, you're more grounded with Vans because they're heavy shoes. And I can see when